Good evening. Positive as always. I always say positive affirmations to you all today. How are you all doing? Thank you. This is Standing in My Truth, and thank you for joining us today. Today, our subject is one that is so taboo that people are scared to talk about menopause. And we shouldn't, because if you're alive and you get to 50, you can have menopause. But did you know menopause can be from 20, 26, 35? Doesn't matter. There's many reasons why you can go into early menopause as well. You could have had an hysterectomy, you could have a cervical cancer, or you could have low estrogen. My guests tonight are well renowned in their field, and I've got three wonderful people that will be joining us in this session today to talk about menopause. Nothing is off the table. We will be talking about the diet, the weight, the sleepless nights, the bladder, the vaginal dryness. Yes, let's laugh and get it out of the mouth. Oh my God, no. Yes. Libido. A relationship with your partner and you feel that you don't feel sexy anymore. You don't feel comfortable anymore. Not being able to speak to your partner, or your partner, whether it be male or female, not understanding why you have brain fog, why you're overeating, why are you angry, why are you crying when it's not even your normal, your normal cycle. Today, we're going to take away those words, menopause, because really all it is your life cycle pausing, taking you back right at the beginning. So let's embrace it and not make it a stigma. And that's what today is all about. Now, before I go any further, as I said, I've got wonderful guests and they are already in the chat room. I should say not chat room, but the green room, waiting to come on board. And I am chomping at the bit just to hear everything. So before I even do that, I'm going to introduce them one by one. And I'm hoping that you can see the screen that I'm about to share with various information about the guests that we've got tonight. How about if I bring up, I have Alicia Marshall Witter. Now, Alicia is actually an author. She's written a book within COVID talking about the importance of lockdown, dealing with her mental awareness, her, how has she coped? But prior to all of that, Alicia has or is going through that change of menopause. It's a subject that we women don't want to talk about. It really is. But when I got to meet Alicia and speak to her, this is a woman that stood in her power and felt no way at all, but to talk about her time with menopause. And without further ado, I'm going to bring you Alicia Marshall Witter, wonderful author, wonderful woman, and she's also known as I Am Natural Mystic. Alicia, please join me.
How are you all doing?
How are you, my darling?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
No, it's my absolute pleasure. As I said, as you know, we've been saying along, you educated me actually this week, because I've wanted to talk about menopause for a long time, because I'm getting there and it's like, oh my God, these are the symptoms I'm feeling. And then I had to realize you don't have to be 50 to be feeling that. It can come at any time. Mm-hmm. And I had friends that went into menopause from early 30s. But before we get down that road, because I can talk for high heaven and earth if you just leave me to it, please introduce yourself to the wonderful people who are joining us today. Tell us a bit about yourself before we go any further.
Okay, thank you so much. It's such a wonderful introduction. I don't even know if I could do it any justice now. So I'm originally from Northwest London. I moved out of London 20-something plus years ago. So I'm probably more of an ex-Londoner than I am a Londoner now.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, currently, yeah, Northwest will always be in my heart, though. I'm like a stick of rock. If you cut me, it will say Northwest 10. um,
I
I'm
think maybe
currently,
you and my other guests might have a bit in common there, but okay.
yeah, currently in Hertfordshire, so it's a different environment in that respect. It's nice. It's greenish, in areas, so I think I enjoy that the most. I'll get people to guess my age. All I'll say is that I'm in my 40s, but then you can guess we're about in my 40s.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just think it's quite interesting that where people kind of gauge me from how I look, from how I sound, that sort of thing. A little bit of fun and interaction from the audience. But yeah, I've kind of been on this journey of change. My body's been through so much for the last 25 years, and this for me feels like a bit of a crescendo. Like you get to the opera and there's the big drum roll and then the cymbals and it's that big at the end. That's kind of where I am now.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Take me to the beginning. So you're from Northwest London. As you said, people will try and guess your age, because even when I met you, I thought, what? How old are you? 12? Do you know what I mean? Like, can I have your secret? Is it oil of lulate? Is it Vaseline? Is it shea butter? What is it? And you just look
Say the
absolutely
DNA of mum and
amazing.
dad.
But before we bring in the other guest, just as you said, you've experienced, or little things that you've experienced going into the menopause. Just give us a little bit, just a little of that. We don't want to give away too much to the audience. So,
Okay.
like
So
your food or your body weight
I'll
or
give
your
you this
mind.
little snippet. I'll give you this. So the day that I found out that I was ineligible for IVF was the day the doctors told me that I was menopausal.
Oh, wow.
All on the same day.
Oh, you're joking. Do you mind divulging what age that might have been? That's that like,
I was
do you mind sharing?
39 because that's when they cut you off really from IVF, free IVF as in NHS. After that, if you've got 10 grand a pop, you can go and try as many times as you want. But NHS, most counties, 38, 39 at a push.
Oh my God. I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
Because
don't be.
how did you take that, knowing that all this time was you feeling any symptoms at
Uh,
39? Nothing?
there was a lot. So my cycle started quite early, and I think that's a big indicator for a lot of women. So your cycle is only 35 to 40 years of menstruating. So I started my menstrual cycle at 10.
What? Oh, bloody G. Sorry, guys. There's no profanity, but I'm like, I did not discuss this with her. So I made sure that I'm getting everything, that whatever you hear, guys, is
Yeah,
what I'm hearing. This is all right. So you started at 10 years old. That must have been, no disrespect, that's got to be traumatic.
it
Because
really was.
I was 14
I
and I
thought I
thought
was
I was
dying.
dying.
So did I. I thought I was dying. I woke up one morning. It was September. I was about to go back to junior school. At that time, I was still at stage school, so I was dancing. It was a mixed school. We used to get changed in front of the boys in the classroom, sort of thing. And that morning, I woke up and I was like, "I'm dying. What's going on?"
So I don't need to laugh.
It was horrible. It was just the worst. It was just why? Like, why now? Why today? Why me? Sort of thing. So my mum came upstairs. Obviously, she heard all the panic, and she just exhaled, and it was an exhale I'd never heard her exhale before.
Oh,
Um,
Lord.
so it wasn't really I was scared or anything, but it was just
Yeah.
the fact that at that stage she says, "I need to sit you down now because you can have babies." And that was kind of my introduction into my menstrual cycle, was just, what? Babies? I'm
I'm
10.
10. I'm 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it
What
was
do you mean?
that was I think that sat with me. That one liner sat with me. You can have babies. And
Yeah.
then it was kind of a downward spiral from that point onwards, to be quite honest with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
good Lord. So 10 years old, here you are, that's your cycle. And, so there's that balance. But even though you're still getting into your 20s and your 30s, were you aware of the menopause? Were you
Yes.
told about you were. Now, you being aware, what did you know and who told you?
My mum went into her menopause in her 40s as well. She started her cycle early. So it seemed as if it was going to be something hereditary because my grandma as well. And then, you know, my aunts and all the women in my family have had some sort of issue in that part of the body. So they either miscarry or you don't conceive well. There's just a history of it genetically in the women in our family. So my mum kind of did the kind thing, I think, by sitting me down early and explaining a lot.
Do you know from your mum if her mother told her this as well?
Her mum didn't, but my
So
mum
she had to learn.
eventually, yeah, my mum figured it out what her mum was going through. They weren't very close anyway, you know, in that respect, whereas my mum were extremely close. And the fact that I was quite still so young, I suppose, and going through my cycle, and she was very young. She was in her 40s, but again, she had to have certain, you know, she had her tubes tied, you know, in that respect. So again, that can trigger early menopausal symptoms, but it doesn't actually mean that you go into menopause. But yeah, so at that point, because I saw a change in her, we conversated. She was very open, and that's one thing that I can appreciate about my mum, is that no matter how hard it may have been for her to actually find the words, she just spoke to me more so about how she was feeling. And I think that was the biggest lesson, is just how you feel on the inside. You know, you can't really control what the body's doing, but it's understanding the emotion that comes with those changes. So,
I actually felt that as you're saying it. I actually felt that so low in my womb as you
yeah,
explaining that, because not many women either have their mothers alive to tell them that, or their mothers were not gracefully educated, or their mothers didn't know how to tell their daughters about menopause. But I'm
yeah,
going to stick a pin in that, because we're going to go right to the beginning. And firstly, to all the people that are joining, I can see the messages. I've got WhatsApps and stuff like that. I just want to say good evening to everyone that's joined us. And I think the people in the chat room, they can see us. Anne-Marie, to my wonderful queen, Natasha, hello, Linda, Jeanette, Patricia. Don't know you ladies, but I feel that, you know, the spirit is there. And so, yes, it is a blessing to have this communication with your mother. And as you, Jeanette, you know, it'd be lovely to hear about your experience as we go along, because I have someone else in the chat room. She said it's a total opposite for me and my sisters. So, Jeanette, I'm going to come back to that. If you don't mind sharing with us, please type away in the chat room, and let's see if there's anything we can offer and anything you can share with us. And to anyone else that's in the chat room, please ask questions as we go along, because we've got three wonderful, energetic, great energy and synergy of women today that are going to be openly speaking about this. So you hang tight there, my darling. I have also, and I'm going to share the screen as well with this other young lady that's going to come on board. Her name, I call her Jay, but her name is Jennifer. And with Jennifer, let's put her up on the screen. Hopefully people can see that. There's my wonderful Jai. Yes, she also is herbalist in the hood. Her name is Jai, and she's a natural born third generation herbal alchemist. Now, everyone's probably going, what the bloody hell is that all about? There I go again. You know, my mouth is like Tourette's. I don't know how to not swear. But if you can understand, I am very passionate. So please don't hold that against me. But you probably say to yourself, third generation herbal alchemist. Well, herbs has been an integral part of her childhood, passed down from her grandmother. You know, she's grown up with roots on the windowsill twigs. But what she did do was literally take all that and decided to take all the examples from her mother and then studied about herbals to deal with the body. So she didn't have to, you know, literally live on the doctors. Now, one thing that I'm going to tell you about the story, and I'm going to only give a little bit because I'd like Jay to come in and explain. She had a shock diagnosis of cervical cancer back in 2009, and it's already on her website. So there's nothing that I'm not able to share with you. And she said that she realized with all her mother's teachings, etc., that there's only so far she could take herself. So she threw herself into studying herbalism and understanding her body. And with that, she had to learn about obviously menopause. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in the wonderful Jennifer, the herbalist in the hood, alchemist. Are you there, Jennifer?
I am.
Hey!
Hi.
I hope I got all that story right. There's so much beauty about you as well. Same with Alicia. And as you could, I'm sure, did you hear Alicia's story?
I did.
Where she's come from. It's, you know, and I'm so looking forward. Anne-Marie says, oh, she's saying, someone said, I've got to stop looking at people's messages in there. Ladies, I'm going to stop looking because it's throwing me off. Welcome so much, Jennifer, for joining us. I know that I've caught you in your busy schedule. So, and I mean, the same with Alicia. So she's just come off a meeting because you are both vocal speakers in everything that you do. And you are all in so much in demand. And so when I approached you, and you literally schooled me within the hour of first speaking to you on the phone, and it was beautiful. I would love you to give the same to everybody else. Jennifer, please introduce yourself to the audience, to everyone on YouTube, in the chat rooms. Tell them good evening and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Jennifer. I also go by the nickname of JJ. So some people call me Jennifer, some people call me JJ. I am from West London. I grew up in West London, left West London at 19, moved all around London, up and down the Central Line. And I moved back into my family home to take care of my parents in their time of need. And both my parents have now passed. And what happened was, as Valerie said, I have always had herbs around me all my life. My mother was a herbalist, so was her mother. And they were wildcrafted herbalists. They never went to university. They never went to college. They learnt from the women back home. They would go into, you know, the bush, whatever. They knew what herbs to pick. They knew what it was for. And so that's how we grew up. I cannot remember going to the doctors. The only doctor I really knew was my mother. Anything go wrong, you go to mum. She's got a windowsill, kitchen windowsill was proliferated with some vile looking objects that looked like something out of the House of Horrors. They stunk. Some of them were in vodka and brandy and rum, and it was just absolutely disgusting. But they did the trick. You know, she'll chuck it down our throats. We had no choice. We had to take it. She also would bathe us in blue, this blue thing. I don't know what it was, but my mother, every month or so, she would put us in the bath, take the blue, pour it over our head. I never understood what it was about until later on. And anything, even when I started my menstrual cycle, I was in pain, my mother would give me herbs. And by the next day, I was right as rain. Anything, we would just take herbs. So we never really went to the doctor. So I naturally followed on with my own children. Same thing, herbs all the way. They very rarely went to a doctor. So when I got that announcement, when I went for a smear and they said they saw cancerous cells on my cervix, I had to come back again 6 months later, and the cells were growing. So the doctors actually said to me that if I come back again in another 6 months and the cells are still there, then they're going to operate because, you know, they just keep growing. And I was absolutely determined that they weren't going to touch me. And so what I realized was when I was asking my mum certain questions about what herbs can you use for cancer or what herbs for the cervix, my mother had no idea. She had no idea about these things. So in the short space of time that I had, and I went into some deep research, and my personality, I have a very addictive personality. I can be quite insular. So when I lock myself into studies, nobody can reach me. I'm just out of reach. So I went into some deep, serious studies, 7 days a week in the library from 10 till 8 at night, studying. And I found what I needed enough to make my own formulas. Now, Herbal Alchemy, an alchemist is a person that mixes and blends things. Doesn't have to be herbs. So what I learned to do, because my mother would use single herbs. She wouldn't blend them because it's not what she saw. But I learned how to mix and blend certain herbs. So I got together all these herbs, blended them together, and I took them for the 6 months period. That's all I took. I cut out all the foods, sugar, bread, all that kind of food. I cut it all out. I bought myself a bullet, had green juices. I only had like green veg, potassium broth. I had bone broth. I kept it very watery for 6 months, and it was just pure green. So by the time I went back in, I had my other, smear test, gone. And the doctor called in 2 consultants, and they were all behind the curtain talking. And I had to call out, is something wrong? And they came to me and they said they can't find the cells. And I didn't believe them. So I said, I want to see for myself. So they showed me what they had on the computer, and it was absolutely gone, clear. Because the first time they told me I had cancerous cells, I didn't believe them. And I said, I don't believe you. I want to see for myself. So they showed me because they have to put the camera inside of you and insert. And I said, I want to see it. I saw it for myself. So it was there. So the time I went back, it was gone. And they asked me, what did I do? And all I said, I didn't tell them anything about what I did. All I said was, I just prayed, and I left it at that. So from that point forward, I went into some deep studies, and I started to search for a school. And I studied under about 4 teachers, all different, male and female, because I didn't want to just go to one school under one teacher, because you learn from other people's different styles. And so you learn when you have a more of a variety. So I had about 4 teachers, plus I did the odd courses myself, plus I did my own internal studies myself. I did little courses here and there. So it was quite a big group of people that I actually learned from. And so when you decide that you're going to be a herbalist, I decided that I'm going to mix everything together instead of just going down one particular path. I want to have a varied path where I can try and reach everybody. I'm not really a specialist like just in women, because I've got men in my books. I've got men who come to me for the prostate. And believe it or not, men also have menopause, but they also have hot flushes.
Don't you dare stick a pin in that, because I'm actually going to have a show. The next show that follows from this is about male menopause, which a lot of people don't realize that men.
I've got 3 men on my books. 3 men on my book.
We need to talk.
Okay.
Right. So we're going to stick a pin there, and we won't bring in the other guests just yet. Okay. We're going to go right to the top and go back to what is menopause. So let's do this, ladies, because that's what a lot of people are waiting in the room to actually hear. Because there are there's younguns, there's olduns, and there's middle ground. So let's take it right. To anyone that's just recently joined, yes. So someone else just said, yes, variation is best to have the widest perspective, because Alicia's knows, and Jay, you have definitely been using various things to help you have consultation with women to deal with menopause and what herbals to take. Right. So here's my first questions to you. We're going to go right to the beginning. And my question is, what is menopause? Now, before you even answer that, I'm putting these graphics up on the screen, and you guys can see this. There's pre-menopause, there's perimenopause, and there's menopause. Okay. Alicia, take me to, what do you understand about all of that? Is this something that you were taught about? Hit me with it.
Okay, so the terminology, I wasn't ever really spoken about, like, the pre-menopause, perimenopause. It wasn't broken down like that for me, in all honesty. Throughout my menstrual cycle, it has always been extremely heavy, and it was never irregular. and that sort of thing. But my testosterone level, I believe, was off, and my estrogen level was off, which my doctors never ever spoke to me about. So I was put on the pill, the contraceptive pill, very early. So for me, it made the end kind of just final, pretty much, in that respect.
39.
It kind of, I had maybe 1 year of irregularity, but because I was dealing with something else, it wasn't looked upon as menopausal.
Yeah,
so
because you were dealing with something else, and because no one can see what's going on, you've gone straight into it. Jo,
and
what
nobody,
was your, Jo, did you have the same as herself? Did you have that similarity? Did you have the pre? Did you have the peri? And then now the meno? How did you cope with that? Because,
I had what they call the peri, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, the peri. What's that? Experience irregular mood swings. Didn't have no weight gain, no real mood swings. All what happened was I would get hot. I would get really hot and sweaty. Heart palpitations, heart beating really fast. That was it. And irregular. My periods have. Well, let me say it like this. There is no. The 28-day period is not normal, and it's been drummed into us that everyone's period should be 28 days. My periods are sometimes 32 days. Made me feel very weird, very abnormal, and I would always want my periods to be 28 days. And it was only all these years that when I was on my herbal course, my teacher actually said, whatever your cycle is normal for you. Never heard that before, ever. And it made me just feel great that the 32 cycle, which was my regular cycle, it was actually normal. So that became irregular. It became very irregular. Some months, 2 months, I wouldn't see anything. And then it will turn up as normal. 3-4 months go by, but my period will be 5 days. Then it went to 4 days. Then it went to 3 days. Then it stayed at 3 days. Then at one point, it was like I had it for 1 day, and then it went away, then it came back. So it was very irregular until it never came back.
And by the end of it not coming back, it was just like 1 day. It was like once. And did that worry you? Did you think?
No.
Did you?
No.
Did you think you were just stressed? Because that's what they tell. Some doctors do tell you when the period is not there. They tell you that stress. Alicia, I can see you smiling like, whoa, what you
no,
said,
because
in there.
I remember how it happened like it was yesterday. It was weird. I was seeing somebody, and he had expressed that he wanted more children. So at this point, I'm at the end of this IVF treatment, but they're saying to me, look, if you're involved with somebody, get the person in, let's do a quick test on him, make sure he's good, and then we can proceed with you. However, he didn't want to go in for testing. And this is one thing that black men don't want to do. I can't speak for any other race because I've not asked any other race, but if I've asked the black men to go in and help me achieve something, he looks at it as him being emasculated, where he doesn't realize that's a different story. But I was very annoyed that, again, my decision to see what my health was, what was going on with my health, was determined on a man, basically. So I had to wait for a man to check a box before they would proceed me to the next stage, which to me is kind of unfair. Like, I didn't go in there with the question, I want a baby. I went in with what's happening with my body, because there was so much going on. So I was seeing him, and it was around like Christmas time, December time, and we'd had intercourse, and literally I bled for 4 months straight after that. After sleeping with him, and I was like, I'm allergic to you. You've done something to me. You've broken my body. Literally, like, you've broken me. Like, I'm not. Yeah, it was horrible. So, he would obviously phone me and say, can we go out and can we meet up? And I'm like, no, I still can't see you. This is still happening. So it felt like it was my very final period. It was literally like whatever was left inside of me was coming out all at once. It's not going to stop until it's finished. And then one day it just stopped.
Did you just say 4 months straight?
4 months straight. And my doctor told me that I had an STI.
Okay, I need to process. My body's all of a sudden, the sweats are coming on, but these are period sweats, and it's like, oh my God, how can you? And so that 4 months is right. can calm yourself, Valerie. I have the wonderful Lauren Chiran that's in the chat room, waiting in the wings to come in. And she can come on to that, because we're now going deep in, folks, what the menopause. So you'll hear from two different women that she bled for 4 months straight, still not being told that she's perimenopausal. It's, you are now going to menopause. And here's Jennifer now saying to you that it went 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 1 day, up days, down days, until one day that was it. But you're not putting on any weight. You've got no cravings. Nothing's happening. But before we even, I've got to bring in Lauren, because she's literally come off her other meeting, because we need to have everybody's input on this. I want to introduce people, Lauren, in the room, and let me just give you a brief synopsis about her. And I knew she was going to be a bit late. Someone said 4 months of it. Mad? Turn me mad? I'd have admitted myself to a psychiatric wing. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I could have had it 4 months.
It was not nice. I ended the relationship at that point. Do you know what I mean? I just went internal. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. On the screen, I am about to introduce the final guest for tonight, and we're going to get down. I keep saying we're going to get to the nitty gritty, because there's so much more to discuss. But I have the wonderful Lauren Chiran, who's about to join us. Lauren is a coaching and mentoring. She helps to navigate women and employment, I should say, with menopause. Suffering in silence is something that she deals with, brain fog, the roller coasters of the emotions, finding it difficult to concentrate on tasks and missing deadlines, especially within work, getting easily frustrated or angry, finding it hard to focus and make decisions. These are the things that she deals with. She specializes in resolving menopause symptoms by focusing on improving your well-being and your morale. She goes into the workplace and deals with the training, raising awareness in the media, and she's an executive specialist. I had the beauty of speaking to Lauren just briefly. There's a bit of noise going on somewhere. I'm hoping I can calm it down. It's too clangy. But as I said, Lauren is here in the chat room, and I'm going to bring her in. Without further ado, please welcome to the rest of us, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. I'm not bleeding for 4 months. Oh my goodness.
That is absolutely, Lauren, I just can't believe what she said. That is, Alicia, I bow to you, because that's a lot. And for any man out there that does watch this, that is traumatic, let me just say. But before we go back into everything else, Lauren, thank you so much again. Like Jennifer, like Alicia, who have been on nothing but numerous messages and speakers today, you've all agreed to join me literally last minute to share the knowledge. I mean, everything. And as I said earlier, which you probably missed, Lauren, this is no holds bar. We've not touched the nitty gritty yet, but this is no holds bar. We're just trying to identify with each other what menopause is, and we're going to now get to the estrogen and vaginal dryness, libido, the best diet, and the things to look out for going into menopause. But before we do that, please introduce your wonderful self to Cyber World and to all the people in the chat room. There is definitely, I've got it somewhere, I don't know whose it is that might have to turn their laptop down. Might be Lauren, maybe. Just there's any phone that you've got, turn the volume down so there's no feedback. That sounds a little bit better now. Yay! See, this is what happens when you become experienced at this thing. So please, Lauren, introduce yourself to the wonderful cyber world and everyone that's watching from YouTube to Facebook, you name it, who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Of course. So let me take you back to the 5th of November 2014, and I get called into my office and my boss invited me into a meeting. I was quite excited because it was my birthday. So my boss and I used to catch up with each other on the way into work or in between meetings. So it was a bit unusual to actually be called to go and see him in his office. So up I went upstairs, went into his little goldfish bowl of an office, sat down, smiling, thinking, "Ooh, I wonder what the surprise is." He goes, "Lauren." I'm like, "Hello?" You've been walking around this place as if you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. I was like, whoa. He goes, well, it's not exactly becoming a senior leader in this organization, is it? Well, let's just say the conversation went downhill from there, and whatever self-esteem and self-confidence I had left went out the door. I took myself out of the office. I was senior enough to be able to work from home, and I did that for a few weeks, and then I took my son and I away on holiday for a few days. And it was only when I was on the holiday that I realised that I hadn't slept for 18 months. My focus, my concentration had gone out the window. I've been having palpitations, and I just have been super, super dependent on my team to get me through each day. But the irony of this is that despite me having itchy skin, dry eyes, I used to go into the office I looked like I'd been mauled to death because I'd scratched the life out of my skin overnight. And that was if I got any sleep. Never mind the restless leg or the sore joints or all the other stuff. Tweezers became my best friend. And,
Sorry.
True. I found out that
today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So basically, the previous week I'd had an award for being top performer, and I got my bonus. That week, I've been told my behaviour wasn't becoming of a senior leader in the organisation. I'm like, confused.com. But on the holiday, my son said to me, Mummy, when we go back to Bristol, can we take Happy Mummy home? And that was the moment that I realised that things just weren't the way they ought to be. So long story short, I left my job. I thought I had early onset dementia, and as a sole parent, I thought I was going to have to sit in a corner and rock somewhere with someone looking after me while someone else brought up my son. So imagine my surprise when my doctor said to me, you've just been through an early menopause. I was the happiest menopausal woman in Bristol. Because I didn't have early onset dementia, right?
Right.
So that's why I now, I've done loads of research. I've got research projects ongoing with different universities, and I educate employers and I provide programs for women going through menopause so that they can stay in their A game, thrive their way through this, and that we don't blindly fall into this thing called perimenopause and menopause. So it turns out, just my last little closing nugget, it turns out that I had my son when I had him at 37. Because I'd been put on contraceptive pills straight afterwards, it meant I didn't have a monthly cycle. I don't know. I probably went straight from I didn't give birth, but having him into menopause. So I probably, although I left my job in my early 40s, I probably went straight into menopause straight from having my son. So who knows? We will never know.
Crackers. So can you see what I'm saying about everyone's story of going into menopause is very different. Totally different. Some you again, I'm going to go back to the 4 months of just, you'll go for IVF, 4 months of literally letting your period go. Jay, you're working along and rocking along and you're not thinking there's anything. You're thinking it's just your normal cycle. Nothing's changing for you. And then here you are, Lauren. You've got the world on your shoulders, but you can't figure out what it is. You've got mind fog, and all of you, if you notice, there's no one can tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Can you hear the difference? Can you hear that nobody? Now, what you missed, Lauren, was Alicia was lucky enough when she was told, her mother told her what's going on. Can I ask you the question? Jay has already said that her parents didn't tell her anything about it. Were you knowledgeable about menopause up until that point? Did your mother speak to you?
Menopause is for old women, and they just have hot flushes and their periods stop.
Yeah.
I phoned my mum at 42. I phoned my mum and said, Mum, I've been through menopause. And she went, don't be ridiculous.
Do you see what I'm talking about here, guys?
Yeah, my mum just cried. I'll be honest. When I told my mum, she just cried. She apologized. She says, I'm so sorry. Because she knew what I'd been through, the years prior to what I was trying to achieve. And so basically, long story short, I got pregnant at around 19, 20, and I had a miscarriage, but my body didn't recognize the miscarriage. So it went into what you call phantom pregnancy stage. So I was lactating. So therefore, they knew that my prolactin gland had switched itself on, but hadn't switched itself off. I never found that out until 11 years after I had the miscarriage. So I walked around for 11 years lactating, and I didn't say anything to anybody because I was too embarrassed. So when I finally did tell somebody, they rushed me to hospital, gave me an MRI scan, then told me I had a tumour, then said to me, right, forget about IVF, we've got to keep you alive. So that deterred anything being done down below, because they were all connected. They were like, we have to turn off your prolactin gland, otherwise your IVF treatment won't work anyway. But can I just say, at no point was I offered estrogen. At no point at all.
So this is the next point I'm coming to, ladies. So let's go straight, let's go right back. So you've all introduced yourself, and I got to the point where I showed what is menopause. And before I even go any further, I'm going to show this. It's literally just, it's just a couple of minutes that I want people to get the gist of what we're doing here.
Menopause marks the end of reproductive years in a woman's life, when menstrual periods stop permanently. Menopause usually occurs naturally as a result of declining levels of reproductive hormones, estrogen and progesterone, produced by the ovaries, but it may also happen prematurely after surgical removal of the ovaries as a side effect of cancer treatments or in a condition known as primary ovarian insufficiency, where the ovaries fail to produce hormones. Menopause is usually preceded by a transient period called perimenopause, when hormone levels start to drop. The last couple of years leading to menopause may bring symptoms such as hot or cold flashes, mood swings, insomnia, vaginal dryness, urinary urgency, and dry skin. Some women may also experience temporary heart racing, headaches, and hair loss. The most telling sign that menopause is approaching is the irregularity of periods. Skipping a period or two is common. The cycles may also be shorter. Periods may be heavier or lighter than usual. Most symptoms.
So, I've just said she's just back here. So, for everyone, now that everybody's in the room, we've now explained that this is the menopause. Now, what I do from here on in, I'm just literally going to throw questions out, and please, ladies, jump in with any information that you have. I have so much information about it, but we want to cover as much as we can for people who are not sure that they're going into menopause. They're not sure that they're in menopause, or they are in menopause and dealing with weight loss, libido. There's a lot to cover. So let's see what we can. I love the fact that Alicia goes,
No, I just comment.
I wonder if anybody someone says, I wonder if anybody scratches themselves with a tile floor scrubbing brush like me. Wow. My longest was 9 weeks and I had to wear an adult nappy. That's mad. That's totally. Ladies, you are all shocking me because I really thought I knew everything. So, honest to God, I don't. Is it Jeanette?
Jeanette,
yeah, Jeanette Barrett. I think she said she may have to jump onto another. I hope she comes back. But thank you for sharing that as well for other people to understand. If you start itching because of the dry skin, that is one of the symptoms. Everyone is different. Let's go right back to the TOP. Listen to this. Okay. We know, and I'm going to just throw it out there for everybody. Here it is. What are the things that you know with yourselves what is really going on with menopause? Because we find out we've got hair loss, we've got skin drier, risk of cardiovascular disease, the breast droops and flattens, the nipples become smaller, your tooth becomes loosened, you have headaches and hot flushes, you've got vaginal dryness, the abdomen loses its muscles, and the body and the pubic hair becomes thicker. Does anybody, we're laughing. Did you recognize any of that? Can you relate to any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying.
You're all laughing because I can relate to it, right? So, Jennifer, jump in.
I was going to say, I've got a bit of a contrast going on. I feel like I'm having reverse puberty. And I don't know if anyone will quite grasp the concept, is that when you go through puberty, things get bigger and they start to blossom and bloom and things change. So I'm happy that my boobs have grown. I'm not going to lie, that they can swell a bit more if they like, you know what I mean? But it's the fact that I smell like a teenager. like my armpit odor is just horrendous. Like it's so bad.
It really is. I know exactly what it is. This is what I'm saying. This is no, guys, anyone that's watching this, there's no holds bars. Just be honest with what's going on in your body.
But the great thing is, the other side of it is all that goes away again, because it is temporary, right? I'd forgotten about that. Thank you for the reminder.
It's really bad. I've tried every form of deodorant known to man. I've now got a whole array of natural deodorants. So I've gone completely away from aerosols and roll-ons and all of that stuff. Men's deodorant, you name it. I've now gone to completely natural. My pores are very open. They always have been. I've been very good at sweating. You know, as a teenager, you run up and down, you can create a sweat and that sort of thing. But now it's just, I can't turn the sweat off. So it needs, I want it to still come out of me, because obviously your body needs to breathe, but I just need to control the odor. And nothing I'm eating or wearing is working currently. So I'm so grateful for StreamYard, and where I can sit in my house and speak to loads of people, but nobody can be in the same room as me right now, because I'm just like, I stink. I'm sorry.
Oh
you
my
need a cleanse, Alicia. You need a cleanse.
I was going to say, Jai,
what's going on? If you have had a shower, bath, come out, and your body smells, remember, that's coming from inside of your body. So inside of your body, you need to have a cleanse. You need to, and a cleanse is going to be with very, very bitter herbs. And what the bitter herbs are, they're alkaline herbs. So they come inside your body, and they're a bit like a scrubbing brush. They'll scrub all the organs, all the tubes, everything. They'll scrub everything, clean everything, because some of the herbs in the cleanse are antiseptic, antibiotic, and they'll go in and they'll do their work, and it will all come out. And after maybe about depends on how long you're on the cleanse. Some people do 7 days, some people do 14, 28, 40 days, whatever. But however long you're on, you have to keep repeating it so that you can get rid of that odor. Because what it is, you could have either, there could be dead parasites, dead white blood cells, dead viruses and bacteria still floating around in your metabolic fluid. If the metabolic fluid isn't coming out, that means your lymphatic system is compromised. Your kidneys could be not working properly. So you're not getting rid of the fluid. It's flowing around your body. And so you're starting to smell because it's not coming out. So you would really need to drink some bitter herbs and get that out and get it out of your body. And then you'll find that the smell will go away.
Yeah, I've literally just started. So I've had to cut out a few things. I realised what my
You're going to have
were.
to cut out quite a few.
Yes, I've realised. I have literally started a detox on Monday. I start a new job in a couple of weeks, so I'm trying to just create that balance now, where my body kind of knows what it's doing. Get rid of as much of the crap that's in it as possible, and then kind of keep it at an even neutral keel. Because
what detox are you doing?
I've not done anything in particular. I'm just doing a lot of teas. I've cut out milk and sugar and all that sort of stuff. Someone's recommended a tumbi, but I know what that does. So I might need to kind of do a kind of a big detox where I push a lot of stuff out quite quickly, and then kind of
that's the thing. You don't want to do it quickly. This is what we fail to understand. That when you are looking to do something quickly, whenever anything happens quickly in the body, it's like a shock to the body, because the body doesn't do anything quickly. The body has its own time clock, and we're supposed to obey that time clock, but we obey society's clock. The body has its own clock. So if you're going to do a cleanse, it's got to be gentle. It can't be quick, because you might not even fulfill what you're supposed to fulfill. So you've got to let the body do its own thing, because the body's the healer. So what you do, you give the body the tools, which is the herbs, and the herbs are tissue specific. So the herbs know what to do. They're intelligent. They know their job. You put them inside you, and that's all you need to do, and drink water.
Thank you.
And
I went to see a
smoothies and all that kind of stuff. But never do anything quickly.
I didn't like the idea of the tumbi. I know what it does.
Anything short term and quick like that, you'll get short term results, and then it will come back because it wasn't thorough enough.
I will
Thank
be
you
in
for
touch.
sharing that, guys. I hope anybody else was able to take that information that Jennifer has, talking about, because we do get that smell. You do get that smell. So these are the things, as I've just pointed to everybody out there, there was I'm going to put this back up. These are the symptoms to look for, which is the headaches, hot flushes. Now, even though I'm naming some of these things, not everybody gets them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of you ladies will agree with me on that. So the teeth loosen, the gum recedes, the hair becomes thinner, and becomes luster. Your skin becomes dry and develops a rougher texture. You get risk of cardiovascular, but which is something that if you see your gynecologist, they will be able to take that test for you. But again, taking natural herbs and speaking to someone like a herbalist, or natural, homeopathic people will be able to tell you that. Your nipples become smaller. I'm saying all of this again. Your abdomen loses muscle tone. You get vagina dryness, itching, and shrinking. Oy, oy, oy. Sorry, oy, oy, oy. Right. And the stresses or the urge of incontinence. So I'm going to take that off, because my next question to everybody, and Lauren, do you agree with everything you just said to Alicia? The whole smell, you can identify with that. Is that something that you went through too?
Yeah.
How did you combat that?
Yeah, so that was, bearing in mind I didn't know what I was going through at the time. I didn't know till after the event that I'd been through menopause. So at the time, I just had lots of showers. I had night sweats as if the rain was coming in my ceiling. So I was sleeping on towels, and I would just whip one towel out, put another one underneath, whip a towel out. It was like a conveyor belt during the night. I didn't really have any hot flushes during the day, but nighttime it was like, the bets were off. The showers were open. It's like someone just left it open all night long. So for me, it was just being super careful, making sure I was cleaning under my arms about 5 times a day in between meetings if I got a chance. But what I think the cleanse, I think, is really, really important, that not just from a smell point of view, vaginal dryness point of view, or any of those things, that when you understand that as your estrogen levels are dropping, we've got different types of estrogens in our body.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Yeah, please start explaining it. No, please talk. Let's go straight in. Let's talk about the estrogen levels, which is what your menopause is, because that's my next question. Because people say, what is estrogen and testosterone? So please jump in and continue there, Lauren. Educate people.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is that, we've got estrogen, progesterone, testosterone as a woman, even though, we think of testosterone as a male hormone, we have a small amount of testosterone as well. So when our testosterone drops off the cliff, we can lose our libido, our drive, our vavavoom, our get up and go, our confidence, and all those things. And, depending where you're watching this, in the UK, for example, there are pockets of the country where doctors are not allowed to prescribe testosterone for women. So it's a bit of a postcode lottery. Estrogen, progesterone, our follicle stimulating hormone. If men went through menopause, we wouldn't be having this conversation here tonight, right?
Right, yeah.
It would be fixed by now. So in terms of I want to go back to the cleanse, because as our estrogen, so basically progesterone kind of gradually goes down, but estrogen levels are doing this. They're kind of like gradually coming down, but they're coming down in that kind of erratic motion over the course of the years. And that's why our symptoms are so variable, and they can pop up and pop down. And 1 minute you're in a rage, the next minute you're crying in the corner for no reason. And so it's important to kind of know that as your estrogen levels overall are declining, you can, through your food, and it's your personal choice whether you go down the BHRT route, the HRT route, or the food route, looking at replacing the estrogens and the receptor sites in your body with phytoestrogens from your food, with soy products and so on. But looking, there are so many things that we do to our bodies throughout our lives. We're taking antibiotics, we've had operations, or we've drunk lots of alcohol, or other things that we've put in our body that really disrupts how our gut works and how our digestive system and our lymphatic system. So I'm completely in agreement with all of this. And it is important, simple things like we go to sleep and we wake to fit in with jobs or family members. We're not intended to do that. We're also not intended to sleep for 8 hours a night. you know, in the olden days, you know, going back 100 years ago, we'd go to bed, we'd sleep for 3.5 to 4.5 hours, we'd get up, we'd do something practical, we'd go back to bed, get another 3.5, 4.5 hours sleep, and we would honor that sleep cycle and get good quality. So there's so many things now that we do that is against our natural rhythm. And the more you can look at your lifestyle, and the more within the confines of living in the Western world or wherever you are, that you can adapt what you're doing so that you can fit the honor of yourself.
Yeah.
And also the flip side of that is, as women, aren't we great at looking after everybody and everything else? So our stress levels are up there, right?
Yeah.
So we need to bring that down. So hand in hand with a cleanse, you know, just so one of my key things is getting people to follow like 21 days of self-care. 21 days, a week of mindset, daily top tips for 7 days, getting your focus, getting your sense of calm, learning to recruit that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. 7 days of diet, you know, looking at good quality foods, finding out which ones are for you, because
and I'm going to come to that. Don't go into that. Let me bring this up. No. Here we are. So was any of you offered hormone replacement? And what effects did it? I'm just asking, was any of you, when you finally was told that you were going through the menopause or you've missed the perimenopause, did they offer anything to you?
Yeah.
It's the one and only thing they've ever offered. Nothing else.
What was that? What did they offer?
That's all they've ever offered. Oh, you can do HRT.
Yeah.
Did you have it? Did you take it?
No.
Reason. Give me your reasons why.
My mum didn't. And I was on long-term medication to treat my tumor. I then ended up with a heart murmur, a deficient spleen. Like you said, my kidneys are probably not working very well because they're still having to filter out these drugs that I was on for such a long term. So my body is still in a recovery mode. So for me to then go and put something else in my body on top of everything else that I'd been through, I was like, I just want to give my body a chance. Like, just let it do what it wants to do by itself without any interference from anybody. So I refuse point blank to take anything now that's man-made. Quite frankly, if it doesn't grow out of the ground, then I'm not putting it in my body.
Which I'm going to come to that, because this is where we go back to the estrogen and what we need to put in. Were you, Lauren or Jennifer, were you offered HRT once you were told you had gone into menopause?
I wasn't told that I had gone into menopause. I've never had it diagnosed. I just knew I'm in menopause. That's it. Menopause is when you no longer have a cycle, no longer have a period. So I knew I was in it. And HRT, yes. And I refused to have it. I was asked why, and I said, I can manage the hot flushes and the night sweats for now until I discover till I create my own thing, till I find out within my own body what's causing it, because the doctors couldn't answer any of my questions. And I said, I'd rather manage with the sweats than have breast cancer. And then I had a client who came to me or came on one of my cleansing programs. When I did a consultation with her, she was on HRT, but she said she came off it because she started to get lumps in her breast tissue. And when she came off the HRT after, I don't know what length period of time, but she said the lumps started to go away. Shrink and go away.
So everyone has a different story. Okay. I'm going to let you on that, because I know you have different remedies, because being a herbalist, there is other things. So this is something that I want to go right back to at the end when we come to the things that we can treat people for. I'm just touching on every single summit. Lauren, were you offered the same thing? Were you offered HRT?
Interestingly, I left my job, went to the doctor. It's like, first time I went, like, just suffering with low mood. You're a sole parent, your child's been critically ill, you've been told that he's not going to make it. You've been around this cycle for the last, at that point, 8 years of him being in and out of critical care. And he goes, you just need some time. So I walked away, came back. By the time
all you need is time.
Time out from working and looking after everything and everybody else. And when I went back to him the second time, he was like, now bear in mind I'm early 40s, really, really super fit. and very, very healthy. You know, I'm a former personal trainer, former, you know, background senior level judo, 400-meter running, I'm a former athlete. I was in really good shape to all intents and purposes, except up here. So, you know, menopause and mental health is such a massive, massive topic. So when I went back and I was talking to him, he just turned around and he said, when was the last time you had a period? And I said, well, I haven't. And then he looked at my records and goes, oh, of course not, because you've been on contraception, that means you don't have a monthly cycle. He goes, I wonder if, so we came off that, did a couple of blood tests, look at follicle stimulating hormone levels, and they were high, and he just went, you've been through menopause. And he immediately put me on HRT, which I sat there going, HRT, breast cancer, I mean, I'm much better educated now about it. And so
Did you take the HRT?
Yeah. So I'm probably going to be quite controversial in what I'm about to say. So I took it.
Please. We want to hear both sides of the story.
Yeah. So I took it for a month, and I had sailed through from puberty to menopause, pregnancy, the lot, not an issue, not a day with a period pain or a headache or anything.
I hate you.
I had my comeuppance during menopause, trust me. This HRT gave me sore boobs, sore stomach, I was swollen, I couldn't get my bra on, I had headaches, you couldn't touch me if you bumped into me, I was probably going to kill you, I had backache, I couldn't sleep. I had a month of hell. And I was like, you can keep your packet and your £15 for prescription charges. Thank you very much. Then I discovered, I mean, I'm already qualified as a nutritional advisor, personal trainer, sports therapist, neuropsychologist, etc. So I kind of dug into my own training, built up my training. I've since done the doctor's training on menopause as well. So I have got both sides. In terms of breast cancer, the higher risk factor of getting breast cancer is obesity. Drinking too much alcohol, not exercising. They are much higher risk factors of getting breast cancer than taking HRT. So my advice to my clients is always keep a record of your symptoms for 2 to 3 weeks, understand how this thing is really impacting you, go to your doctor and have the conversation to find out what the options are based on your medical history. Because if your life is at that point where you are, you know, there's a spike in women attempting to take their own life at 51 because of menopause symptoms. If your life is at a point...
Repeat that again, please. Let people hear what you've just said.
So, suicide...
There's suicide. Please repeat that.
Yeah, so suicide is thought of as a young man's issue. Actually, women aged 51, there's a spike in women attempting to take their own life age 51. We're not heard, we're not seen, we're not listened to. So my answer is, if you are really struggling with symptoms, and if you think about, you go through periods for on average 37 years of your life, and you go through menopause for an average 37 years of your life. If you're going to live 37 years, if you're going to take the risk of taking HRT and getting breast cancer, which is, I'm not recommending this, I'm not advocating it, but the risk of breast cancer, 1, we can be screened, 2, it's highly treatable and the mortality rate is really good. Or you can live for 37 years in sheer abject misery and get to the point of being so mentally unwell. So it's a life, you know, it's a quality of life choice. And there are also good studies, and I just want to say 2 more things. So there's good studies to show that HRT is really good for bone health, for your heart health, and for your cognitive function. We're beginning to see more studies come out to show there's a really good connection with helping decrease the likelihood of Alzheimer's and dementia.
Okay, so we've heard the flip side, we've got the alternative, and we've got some people who are not going to take it. But here are the things that, you know, I'm going to go into. There's other things that you can take. Now, I'm going to put a bit of information in because Miss Sugar has been asking a lot of questions. So, Miss Sugar, we will come back to you because you're asking is, you know, this is where we come to libido. So I'll come back to that. But they say that you can replace the estrogen by having plant-based phytoestrogen to boost your, you know, your immune system. I totally agree with that. And these are the things that they're saying that you can add. Now, jump in, folks. This is what I've put in here. They're saying soya, but not soya as in soya milk. So here's this is where Valerie brings in her bits now. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the soya milk that you would take. It is this fermented soya, which is, miso, tempeh. And the reason why they have these salt, which we don't get very regularly, because this is what the Japanese and the Chinese use. Now, I don't know and I can see shaking of the heads because but this is not anyone that's a herbalist, but I can heads being shaken. They're saying seeds like linseed, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, nuts like walnuts, pistachio, peanuts, and fruits. Bearing in mind, you've got to be careful of the fruits because of the fructose that could add a lot more sugar to the weight that some people may build up going into menopause. So they're saying things like berries. So if you think about when I say berries, you've got cranberries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries, and things like peaches. Okay. So those are the dietary things. I don't know if you guys agree with me there, but these are the things for anyone that is now going into menopause or you're in perimenopause. They're telling you that you should change your dietary requirements and try to start changing them now. Does that make sense, guys? I see Jennifer's face. You see, Jennifer, you're a herbalist, so you use different things, but they're not everybody. Yeah. Yes, please. I like that. If you can, I've got some stuff that I will share into the chat room. And so she's got a free menopause, the basics, and we'll put that into the chat room. And we've also got, Jennifer has also got a cleanse, which we'll put that in because people are asking those questions as well. So there's a cleanse program that she has that formulate the bitter herbs for the cleansing. And also Lauren has a page which is free menopause, the basics, for anybody who wants to know how you change your dietary requirements. Okay. Now I'm going to go past that. The natural remedies, again, we've already spoken about the hormone replacements. And as I just said, I believe that plant-based is the way to go. I am not vegan.
Oh.
I'm not vegan. I just say that. I was a vegetarian for years, but I, like yourself, Alicia, I became very, very ill. And because I was not educated, I was told I didn't have enough protein in my body. And again, not educated enough, Jennifer, I was not told that I could probably live on herbs and blah, blah, blah. And like you, Lauren, I'm fully not a neurologist. So I've tried, like you guys, to try and educate myself as best as possible, but I can feel the brain fog. So I'm going to now speak for myself and anybody else that wants to join in. I can speak for myself. There is the brain fog. There is the night sweats. And I've tried the sage. And yes, I'm going to stand in my truth because people are going, but you look so young. It's not about looking young, guys, because you can go into menopause at the young age of 28. You could have had an operation. You could have had hysterectomy. And for me, what I found was the sweating, and I didn't think it was my diet. And so I started to change a lot of diets, thinking, this is what I'm going to start eating. I put weight down below, and I don't understand why all of a sudden I've got boobies, and why is it my butt has got bigger, and not understanding my knees. I can still dance. I can still go out. I can do all these wonderful things, but my face is changing. My butt's changing. I'm now feeling sick and I'm sweating. And what I did do, I went on the keto diet. And everything that you guys have said is actually what the keto diet is. It's just that people hear the word keto and hear diet, but everything of those that are put in there, which is seeds, good fats, olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil, all of those things are natural products. They're good estrogen. Fish. They do ask you to eat meat, but fish is good. You've got good source of sardine, the oils that you need back into your body. Now, jump in anytime here, but these are the things that I had to go and educate myself on to help me understand am I now in form? Am I going, am I peri? Am I meno? Am I ended? Am I dying? I am not. I've had enough. I've had the crying. I've had the relationship where I've ended because I'm now arrogant. I'm ignorant. I've had enough. You can't talk to me. I'm being serious, guys. You can't. You can't talk to me. And all of those things, and I'm saying it, I had to understand what the freaking hell was going on with my body, because nobody told me. My mum didn't tell me. I come from a family that don't discuss that sort of thing. Do you understand? Thank God for the internet. And then it's only recently I'm finding that people are adding things in the box. Yes, you need nuts, etc. I'm now finding that there's a wealth of people deciding to go in America, not in England. The Americans are more open than we are here in the UK to talk about getting older, to talk about menopause. Sorry? They are so open.
Yeah.
But when I came to speak about it in the UK, people are having private WhatsApp groups. They're having private secret groups because women do not want to speak about getting older. They think menopause is you're old. It is not. It's a life cycle change. Now, I would love you to, what's she say here? I am now 52 and at the baby stage of menopause. She says she's at the baby stage of menopause.
But menopause, I mean, Valerie, menopause is supposed to be a wonderful time. It's wonderful. We don't have a menstrual cycle. We can have sex and don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to get pregnant? Or we can forget about all of those things. And way back in the 1950s or so, women just accepted it. When menopause came, it was just, that was it. It was menopause. Okay, I'm here. They didn't have these symptoms. But when women talk about menopause now, they talk about it with such fear and negativity. And what they're talking about is the symptoms that they have once they become, once they have their menopause, once they come to that phase. They have all these hosts of symptoms, even when they're in the, I don't know the difference between the peri and the pre. I don't like all those terminologies. I don't know what the difference is between those. But when you're coming up to it, there's all of these symptoms, even the chart that you put up with all of the symptoms. And that is why women have such a negative fear about menopause, because they think it's going to be a really horrible time. And they're not.
Agreed.
And it's not. It's a time where it's supposed to be anti-aging, because you don't have the burden of the reproductive system, which is steroidal in nature, pulling us down, burdening us all the time, bombarding our bodies with estrogen. Okay, so we don't have that amount of estrogen anymore, and we're supposed to be having a better time of life. That's what it's supposed to be, but it's just so stigmatized that it's such a horrible time. I absolutely enjoy my menopause. I just want to get rid of the hot flushes. I just want to get rid of the hot flushes and the night sweats, the heart palpitations, and I'm working on that. And I will let you know later on what I found out about all of that.
Please do.
So I'm quite happy that once I get the lid on that, I'm going to enjoy this time of my life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Alicia, Jay, I love what you've just said there, because this is why we're talking about the stigma of menopause. And, Lauren, you just said that people have got to menopause at 51 and have become suicidal.
I think I want to just concur with what Jay's saying. So me 15 years ago, when I had my son, he's nearly 15, although I was a senior exec at work, I was still colouring between the lines. I was a good girl. I did what I should do. I had all these society coats that I was wearing and those masks that I was putting on.
Yeah.
I don't give a flying monkeys anymore. I've stood on stage in America. I've been on, Channel 9 in Australia. I've been all over the world talking about menopause, saying the M word out loud, getting people to voice out on stage. It's so empowering being on this side of menopause. There is nothing that I won't do now. If I want to do it, I'm going to go and do it. the power, the energy, the everything. It's like, why did I not have this 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Where did this self-confidence come from? I think I got a testosterone boost. I got my fair share. I don't need HRT, thank you. I got my own natural hike of testosterone, and I've always been pretty confident. Yes, I had my wobble during my peri-post, phase, but my goodness, this is an amazing stage of life. We've got the skills, the knowledge, the experience. We've got that gift to share with the people coming through. And we're young.
This is
I
it.
am.
I remember speaking to you, Alicia. When I first spoke to you, you came in and you said to me, I cannot believe how good I feel, even though you wanted to have a child. You weren't, if it wasn't for the grace of God of your mum and the way she embraced to let you know that you are in, you've gone into your menopause early, but can you just share some of the things that you had to do, that you had to educate yourself to be in the place that you're at now?
Do you know what? I actually didn't, because I'd had this conversation with my mum when she was in her early 40s. She was 23 when she had me. So I was very late teens when I had that conversation with her. I think for me, the turmoil of it really was that they couldn't tell me why I couldn't have children. So and there was no counsel. So I was just dealing with that, the resentment and the bitterness of not being able to have a child. And then someone said to me, do you really want to be a host for a parasite? They kind of changed the way I looked at pregnancy. And I did exactly that. I was like, oh,
that
okay.
Is horrible.
Yeah, I'm like, literally, stuff said to me over the years that have made, so some of the things that have said, they would have pushed me to suicide. So I did feel a little bit of lack of worth, but it wasn't because I couldn't just have children. There were other things that were impacting my life as well, financially, homelessness, bad relationships, yada, yada, yada. So there was a lot of things, but nobody ever just stopped and said, let's look at the holistic side of who Alicia is. All of you, not just your womb, not just your brain, not just that bit, not just that bit. You are a whole person. You are. Let's try and put all those bits of that jigsaw puzzle back together again. So, because I've always had high testosterone. I'm a tomboy from birth. My mum wanted a boy. I was born a girl. My mum was sad when I was born because she wanted a boy. So I've just not like in a bad way, but I just feel as if that her energy through her pregnancy wanting a boy then kind of maybe heightened my testosterone, or the way I have been more tomboyish throughout my life. I still am. I still love my tracksuit and trainers and climb trees and play football, and I will not stop doing that. To be quite, I played basketball. I didn't play netball. So there were things that I knew growing up as a girl, that I had high testosterone. I was loud. I was brash. I'd push boys out the way. I wanted to do weight training. I've never been a girl. I've in my head, girls had babies. So until I actually did that, my body's still saying, well, you're a young tomboy. You haven't had a baby. So then when the menopause kicked in, I just went, guess what? I'm going to wear white forever. I'm going to wear white every single day, forever and ever and ever and ever. Because it's the one colour I've not been able to wear, because things can, even when you think, oh, it's not due for another 2 days, that's the day you wear white and you go to a friend's house and you sit down and stand up and you're like, oh, great, stain on the back of my skirt. Bye, everybody, got to go now. I don't want to play that game with my body anymore. I really don't. I'm one of those people. I'm young. I wouldn't even say I'm more carefree. My last employer got the worst of me because I gave him what for. I didn't give a damn what he thought of me. Somebody said to me today that I'm going to give you a pass because you're going through the menopause. I absolutely exploded at that man, and I didn't care that he was 87. You are not going to use that and try and understand and manipulate a situation. No, you're the one with dementia, mate. I'm not the one with just foggy brain right now. Yeah, it's not just foggy brain. You've got something more going on. So let's not do this. So my mouth has very snappy, and I will tell people where to go, how to get there, when to do it, how quickly to do it, and I'll buy you a ticket.
I love it, because isn't that the freedom that you now find that when I can't speak for everybody else, but this is something that I am now getting to. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, where was that before? Where was it that I cared so much of not talking about hurting somebody's feelings, but I had to look back and think, I can't make myself unhappy anymore. I'm making myself unhappy. So I'm now this is taking off. So I'm wearing half a mask. I'm wearing half of this mask. I want to be 18 again. And the other half is saying, girl, you're going into 15, you're getting menopausal, get with the grip. Now, I'm going to say this because I know there's other women that, the reason why some women don't speak about it, but this is my truth. I didn't understand it. I just associated it with getting old. I don't want to be, I don't want to have weight. I don't know, it's like I need to stay at that size 12. And how dare nature do this to me? The things I ask myself is, how did I not see this coming? How did I not know this was coming? And what I had to do, I literally took photos out. And I'm speaking quite different from you lot. I took photos out and start charting back to 2016, 2015 and looking and going, did my bum grow then? And then I started looking, but I still had flat boobies. And then I'm like, but how come I, wait, that's how bad it's starting to get because I'm now looking at when the changes started. But I just thought, hey, it's just.
But Valerie, what changes? If there wasn't a chart, if there wasn't any kind of text or information that said, this is what's going to happen to you when you hit menopause or premenopause, then we wouldn't become hyper-conscious and hypercritical.
There you go.
Charting everything, looking for every little thing. I had a client, and this is when I tried to tell her the power of the medical society's words. They're spellbinding. They told her that she had sickle cell. So she came to me for sickle cell. And I suspected that she didn't have sickle cell because you don't catch sickle cell like that.
No, you're born with it. That's absolutely
so I said to her, it doesn't sound right. I said, maybe you need to go and get another blood test. Anyway, she didn't trust the doctor, so she paid £200, had a private blood test. It came back, she did not have any sickle cell at all. And she absolutely believed she did. Plus, they said something about HIV. When she had the private blood test done, none of those things came up. So sometimes the medical doctors, they can say stuff to you. Like I've got a lady who's lost her breast. She had her breast taken off. It was cut off. And the words that the doctors had said to her, that we think it spread into the liver, but we're not really sure. Then if you're not really sure, then why not say anything to her? Because she's carrying that around in her head now that, oh, it's gone into the liver, I'm going to get worse, but they're not sure, but we think it has, but we're not sure. The medical doctors, their words are very spellbinding because they're very powerful. People take them like they're almost gods. So if there wasn't this checklist, we wouldn't have to be tracing all of these things that, oh, I've got this, or I've got that. And then we start criticizing ourselves. Now, the reason why when we get to this side of life, why we can be the way we are and more relaxed in how we are, is because we're no longer under society's gaze. They're only interested in us from when we are teenagers till maybe when we come to our, late 30s, maybe late 30s. Other than that, you're over the hill. So they don't really care what we do, or we don't care, or we get to that point of not caring of what they think now because, you're over the hill now. So you're more relaxed in your body. Well, I am. I'm more relaxed in my body. I don't wear underwire bras no more. They're damaging. So I let my breasts hang where they may. They feel very comfortable here. Yeah. I wear a little, the little loose bras with no wire underneath. And I've never felt so comfortable in all my life. They just hang where they are. They feel great. I don't have the pull, the tightness here, the tightness under here. Yeah. And the wire in itself, when we did a module on the lymphatic system, so the wire in the underwire bra, when it presses up against your under your breast, you've got a whole row of lymphatic nodules that live under there. So when it presses against it, it cuts off your lymphatic system. And then I found that it's particularly dangerous. So you come to this side, you feel a bit freer. Yeah. You feel a bit more free in yourself. You feel more relaxed in yourself. And you're a little bit like, well, I don't give a damn now. So just like you said, Alicia, it's like, well, what the hell? And you're a bit more vocal.
And not only that, I've actually, last year when I was really going through the hot flush situation, especially during the summertime, I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know whether it was the sun that was making me warm or whatever. But I'd be on a Zoom call or I'd be on something, and I'd explain to some of the women on there, especially, like, forgive me if my camera flicks off. Yeah, it's not intentional. It's not because I don't want to be part of it. It's because in that moment I have to take everything off. If I could take off my skin, if I could take off my eyelashes, if I could take off my lips, I would take everything off and go and put it in the fridge and then quickly put it back in the oven, because I go from 95 degrees to -4, and then I'm shriveling like this, and then I'm like, okay, because the clothes are wet now, so I'm cold, I've got to take them off, let's wipe the body down, so people don't and then in between all of that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I needed to go to the toilet. So it's literally how I am. I could be having 4 conversations, I'm on 3 different Zooms, and then panic. So don't ask me to do more than one thing at once right about now, because my brain, literally breathing, blinking, talking is about as much as my body can cope with at once. If you ask me to go across the room and walk at the same time, complete meltdown. Don't ask me to do that right now. So I'm in that space where I'll be talking to people, and all of a sudden in the background they can hear, what's that noise? And I'm trying to hide it underneath the thing so no one can see it. And then not only that, when I'm sitting on a Zoom, I'm so glad that you only need to see head and shoulders, because the majority of the time, the rest of the clothes are right here. There's nothing below the waist. Like, there's no... I've had to wear different colour headscarves because I could be sitting here, and then all of a sudden you see this thick patch of sweat just appear across the headscarf, and I'm like, I hope nobody can see that. I hope nobody can see. But I've just got to that stage now. I'm just like, I'm sorry, people, I'm dying. T-shirts coming off, headscarves coming off. If you don't want to see a strip show, go and tune into somebody else. But right now, I'm hot. My body needs air, and that's what I'm giving it. I'm just doing my body.
I'll tell you, Alicia, you are brilliant. You've just kept it so real, because the worst thing is, I don't know about you guys, I find that I sit there half the time and I'm thinking no one can see me, and I'm doing that.
Yeah, they can.
And I'm doing that, and then I found one of the things doing the talk show, and you've got this massive big ring of light. I don't know about you guys, but I had like 2 sets of light, so that everything, because I'm in a dark room, and the light highlights the sweat. And so sometimes I'm bending down, I'm talking to someone, I said, oh, bear with me a second, and the flannel's down there, and I'm walking away, and then I have to come back up and produce myself like, yes, oh my God. And I started to become so paranoid about it. And it's only recently I just thought, do you know what? I don't wear makeup, so I'll tell you what, I don't really care. This is it for me. I'm trying to get a message out, whether it be menopause, sickle cell, you name it, whatever. But I'm going to keep wiping. And it's me. And it's just, and stop feeling bad about it, because I can't, apart from put the ice cubes on my face and my head and my armpits, I can't do anything about it. So it's either that or I stop doing these shows, because vanity is, does that make sense? Vanity is taken over.
Something really simple. You know that the ring lights have got 3 settings?
Yes.
Right. So what I did that actually stops me from sweating as much, or from it showing, you've got the white light, then you've got kind of a softer glow light.
Yeah.
So what I now do is on soft. Have you noticed I look slightly, look kind of glowy in here, so it's on a soft glow, and I've got a nice little lamp way over there, so I've kind of moved the heat of the light further away from me, because literally I'm surprised that it took me this long to only have 1 hot flash. I've gone nearly a whole 2 hours without actually breaking out in a sweat. So I'm gonna put it down.
It's embarrassing. I mean, Lauren, I don't know. It really, really is embarrassing. Now, my sister, God, I don't know if she's online or everything like that. And I'm going to ask Lauren if she experienced that. And yes, Linda, you can relate to the sweating. And I promise you, I will put that thing up again, which we did earlier, because I know that the lovely Alicia has to leave us very soon, but you know, so I want to make sure that I get enough out of her and cut, you know, and then continue on, because we, you know, this ain't finishing until I get to the end of what you guys have got to share. But do you know what I mean? But Lauren, I just want to ask you, did you go through all that sweat? You just said you did, and you know, your coping mechanism and the sweating and wringing out the t-shirts and everything else, you know. What else is there, ladies, that you had to comprehend apart from the sweating? Because I know that is the worst. The nighttime sweating. Sorry.
Yeah, the nighttime stuff was just towel after towel after towel after towel. If I got a day sweat, which didn't happen very often, I mean, I've got the thinnest, finest, straightest hair in the planet. It doesn't take much for it to look like that.
Right.
So one hot sweat. Yeah. And my hair. And I remember having to go into a board meeting to speak to the CEO of the company I worked for. And it was a really big meeting. And I was presenting something that he did not agree with at all. And I remember being really suddenly, I didn't get hot. I got freezing, shivering cold. So your thermoregulatory system's normally got, you don't get hot till up there, you don't get cold till down here. And when your estrogen levels and progesterone levels are doing the hokey cokey and not inviting you to the party, the thermoregulatory system gets about that broad. Yeah. So you get hot really quickly and cold really quickly. So I would do things like, I'm big into kayaking. So I'd be on the river with someone in the kayak in front of me, 4 or 5 hours. You think nice and warm, right? 19 degrees, the sun shining, beautiful day, watching the world go by. And we get along, and I start to shake, and the guy in the front of the boat would be like, "Can you stop shaking?" I'm going,
really?
My brain wouldn't communicate with my hands to carry on paddling. So he had to do most of the work to get us back, and then 19 degrees Celsius.
And you're freezing.
I'm freezing. I had hypothermia. Yeah. I couldn't get out the boat. He had to go and get help to get 2 people to hold the kayak, and then physically lift me up and out and put me into my car, get me a hot tea and an emergency blanket. And it took over 3 hours to get my body temperature back up. So I struggled for about 3 or 4 years of just, when I did the Brighton Marathon in 2014, 14 degrees. I've been running for 15 miles. Well, when I say running, jog walking for 15 miles. And I had to go and get a space blanket to do the last 11 miles because I was freezing to death.
So it's a different extreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I don't know if Jennifer can relate to that, but, you know, we do have that sweat where you've got the freezing cold, you know, because 1 minute I can have everything on and the next minute I have to just literally throw across the room and I don't get it. You know, it's when you're out and you're in front of people as well. And you just, you know, I think lockdown, for people in menopause, lockdown has been brilliant. Right? Because you don't have to face anybody. You don't have to have those meetings. You can have that meeting on your Zoom and switch because you can wipe that sweat. But apart from the sweats, I'm going to come back to the food because I said, just quickly before you go, Alicia, I want to talk about loss of libido and the signs of loss of libido. So we've talked about the sweats, the things that can happen, your bladder. I want to just get that before you run out through the door, because apart from that, we haven't, you know, we want to talk about the men, how we need to speak to the men, let them know how we deal with the menopause for people who are in a relationship, or for single people not in a relationship. How are you going to cope? So let's start with that question I just asked. Libido. Libido.
My one has never really changed, really. It doesn't appear to have. However, I have been technically single since 2012. Saw a couple of people between now and then, but I've actually been celibate for nearly 3 years. That wasn't because of the menopause. It was a personal choice. I needed my body to just do its own thing. Yeah, it was just, I didn't want to be invaded by any, that's the word I use, invaded by a man. But what it has enabled me to do, it sounds really weird, I just know myself a lot better. Let's just say that. I make sure there's a constant supply of batteries.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, I don't suffer with any sort of vaginal dryness or anything like that. It's the right stimulation. Okay, so that's one thing that I when I started watching porn, not something that I'm proud of, but I needed to figure out what stimulated me.
No, but we want to hear that.
Yeah,
because
but that's what got my juices flowing. It wasn't. I'm not going to describe what I was watching because that's too weird. But if you know, there's porn especially made for women, should we say, which is a little bit different. But yeah, explore the part of your brain that gets turned on and how it gets turned on. Because once you start to figure out what happens up there, the rest of it follows anyway. So I'm a sapiosexual. So if a man stimulates my brain, the rest of it will naturally go. So I worked on that prior anyway. I knew that about myself prior to the menopause. So now that's what I hang on to. If I can find someone who is actually going to stimulate, or something that stimulates the juices up there, then the rest of the juices know what to do.
That's true. And on that note, I know you've got to go, but we're going to continue on that because there's questions that was asked of me, loss of libido, will it come back? And they wanted to, you know, which I'd love, and I know you've got to go, which I'm going to ask.
You remember that song by,
what's that?
You know the song by Right Said Fred? I think it's like, I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Yeah.
Or I'm too sexy for, right, literally, that's where I'm at the moment. I'm too sexy for a man to even touch me. That is how sexy I feel that my body is for me. And I want to get to know it before I allow anybody else to touch it again.
Yeah.
So I'm too sexy
on
for
that
men
note,
right now.
everybody, Alicia will be back with me in a couple of weeks to do a one-to-one. She's got to go. Love. Please, everybody, please say any hearts up. Actually, I'm not even looking on.
I'll be in touch with both of
I
you.
can't.
I've learned so much. I've learned so much. Detoxing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've found my menopause sisters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I found a family.
Absolutely. Please, everybody. I know anyone that's in the chat room. I think on the in the. I can't see, I'm not looking on my page, but anyone put some hearts up in the page. Alicia's got to leave us. We're going to continue, but I want to thank you. She will be back with me in a couple of weeks. We're doing a little one-to-one on Instagram, so look out for her talking about natural energy and everything else. Thank you so much. And I have to big up to literally to Rihanna, for actually introducing you to me. And I mean, I knew we were friends, but she highly spoke of you, and it was well worth the conversation. So, you know, ladies, please tell her bye. Lots of hearts up to Alicia. Speak to you soon, my darling.
Thank you for all of those of you who jumped on for after I shared the link as well. So Miss Shugs, Carol, Natasha Vigil, love you all. Thank you so much. And Janetti, who was on at the beginning, thank you so much. And we will definitely catch up real soon.
Yes, we definitely will. God bless you. Speak to you later. Okay, we're going to go back into, we were saying, which is loss of libido. People don't, you know, women have realized that they've lost, they're ashamed of themselves. They become emotional. They don't feel sexy anymore. There is no, you know, we will go with the vaginal dryness. You'll find that some women have odors. They start realizing that they have, you know, bacterial vaginosis. Their oxygen levels go down. These are all the things that libido symptoms towards the libido. Can you offer up any information on that, Lauren, before I come to Jennifer? What have you come across with the women that you've dealt with, and what can you offer to people about that?
I mean, I do a lot of work on lifestyle factors, so there's a lot of crossover with the work that we do, but a big part of what I do is also mindset. And at the end of the day, you do have to get to know yourself. And I partner with companies that do vaginal lubricants, vaginal dryness, sex toys, all sorts of different things. So, you know, I have got a cupboard full of everything that you can possibly imagine.
I hope your 15-year-old son don't look.
Oh, he knows more about this stuff than I do. I mean, we've talked about everything, so I don't think there's anything that I've got that he doesn't know what it is and what it does. So yeah, there's no secrets in this household, that's for sure. But I think, you know, unfortunately I will get a lot of people come to me when they haven't had any sex or they haven't been intimate in any way for a number of years. They've got severe vaginal atrophy and dryness, and actually that's just it's criminal. It's criminal that women can get to that point. And it terrifies me, because if you think about little old ladies in a home who have been struggling for years and they can't even sit down without being in pain, go to the toilet, or they're leaking and they've got cracked skin. And, you know, when people go into these places, they might talk about what medicines are they're on or what clothes do they wear, but they don't ask about their intimate health. So you've got, you know, and you just sort of think, geez, God forbid that ever happens to anyone that I know. So lubrication, moisturize your face, moisturize down below, using the right lubricants, making sure vaginal moisturizers, vaginal lubricants, using lubrication, whether you're on your own or with a partner, or you're, you know, playing with toys, whatever you're doing. If you're still struggling, or you haven't been intimate for a long time, then, you know, there's lots of different dilators and all sorts of vibrators, you know, from literally from pinky size, that you can start to explore and start to play with, and just gradually start to move back towards. But it's this as well. It's so important to get in tune with your own body, with you and your partner, to talk if you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the other thing is, much as people are anti-HRT, having a local, I mean, I'm speaking as a well-educated lay person, not as a doctor, but there is local estrogen. So things like Vagfem and Estrogen. So Vagfem is where you can put a little pellet up inside 2 or 3 times a week, depending on your requirements. Unfortunately, you have to use it for keeps, but it does the trick. Or there's a thing called Estrogen, which is like a little rubber ring that can go up inside. Same localized estrogen. It's not HRT. And then that you replace that every 3 months. And for lots of women, I mean, I spoke to a woman who was 74, 75 recently, and just started struggling with leakage, started struggling with dryness, you know, had been sexually active all her life until the last year or so, was too embarrassed to go and ask for help. I got the doctor on my team to have a conversation with her and guide her how to have a conversation with her own doctor. She got Vagfem, and within 3 weeks was back to normal.
Oh, really?
So, you know, there's pros and cons for different types of, you know, integrative medicine or functional medicine or traditional medicine. But, you know, I know that I sure as heck wouldn't want to live my life without being able to have that type of pleasure. So I'm really into just sharing what's available and having people make their personal choice about what works for them. But the mind is such a powerful tool. And
Absolutely.
if you can master your own mindset, then you're a long way down the road.
Jennifer, have you got anything to add on that? Because, as I said, loss of libido can be so many different things, you know, because you have, as I said, you've got the bacterial vaginosis, which after a while you don't want, even if you're single and you want to start dating and you're going to have this going on, you're not going to want to meet anybody. And emotionally, you start to not liking yourself. You lose confidence. You become, you know, emotionally stressed. And I think I've got a couple of things I'm hoping I can see in what order did I put it. So here are the symptoms that you can have, which is the fatigue, the emotional distress, and, you know, become anxious, not feeling sexy. You start to feel ashamed, loss of confidence, and low oxytocin. You know, and a lot of people don't even know what, you know, oxytocin is. You know, what can you shed of all of that I've just put there, Jennifer?
When it comes to loss of libido, let's go to vaginal dryness.
Okay.
So the vagina is a very wet, sort of moist area, and the walls or the lining of the vagina is made up of what we call smooth muscle. And it depends on what you're eating, depends on what you're cooking your foods in. I'm going to talk about the oils. A lot of oils that we fry and cook our foods in, a lot of the oils in the supermarket are rancid. And when you use old rancid oils in your cooking, and you take them inside your body, what happens is, I'm not going to get too technical, but it's a thing called phospholipids inside the body. And so when those rancid oils go inside the body, they have a way of stripping away the smooth muscle.
Yeah.
And they affect the tendons, and they affect the ligaments, and they can make them very slack, loose.
Slack, yes,
Yeah.
loose, yes.
And some ladies don't tend to have any feeling because their vaginal canal and the muscles in there can be very slack, and that is down to whether or not they're doing Kegel muscle exercises, pelvic floor exercises, but sometimes it's to do with the foods, and a lot of the times it's to do with the quality of the oils that we're actually taking on board. Now, with I had a client who's 46. She hadn't had a period for 18 months. She had an ectopic pregnancy, lost the baby in the tube. I don't think they removed the tube, but she had a lot of scarring. So she had a blocked fallopian tube. So she came to me and told me about this. So what I did, and she also had a lot of vaginal dryness. She couldn't be intimate with her husband. It was just too painful. It was causing tension between her and her husband because he wasn't believing her. Yeah. So they were having fights and things like that. So she was my mother's carer, actually. And that's how she found out that I was a herbalist, because some of my clients came to my home to pick up their formulas. She asked me what I do. I told her. So she told me her story. I made her a formula. And she began to feel some warmth in her left side of her body. So I said, well, go and find out what one of your tubes was blocked. It was the left one. Now, wherever heat goes, blood will flow. So immediately she started to get a nice warm feeling there. Then about a few weeks after that, she came back to me and I made her up a blend for vaginal dryness. Within 2 months of taking that, she rang me up excited, telling me that her knickers are wet. Sorry, I got a laugh.
Sorry. Come on, Valerie. We're not in school now. Behave yourself.
We were getting so excited. She was so excited. She said, my knickers are wet.
And that's a big thing. That's a big deal.
Massive for her. So I was like, oh my God, your husband's going to be, your husband is going to be great now. So anyway. And then about 3 months after being on that formula, her period came.
Wow.
So now she's going to try for a baby. Whether or not she gets pregnant, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. So because there's a thing in herbalism that we call that the womb is cold or the womb is dry. So if your womb is cold, no activity is going to happen down there. So you're not going to feel desire. You're not going to connect with that sexual desire because the womb, the vagina, it needs to be warm and moist. I've got a couple of ladies whose womb is dry. It's so dry that they have missing periods. They have periods that go missing for months on end, and then they come back and then they go missing. But there are herbs that you can take that will cause moisture and mucilage in the vagina area, in the womb area, which is where you need it to be. Yeah. So there are herbs that will tighten the womb, tighten the bladder, so you don't have leakage. For those ladies that have leakage, if they cough, they're leaking. There are herbs that can be taken that will tighten up the walls of the womb and the bladder, because the muscle integrity has gone. It's like flabby, it's slack. And that's because of the foods that we're eating, the oils that we're cooking in, the takeaway foods, because they don't always cook their foods in the best oils. They're cooking it in the cheap vegetable oils. And those oils are rancid oils. So, and sometimes they don't even change the oils. Like in a chip shop, they might be using the same oil over and over again. We're taking those oils into our bodies, and it's messing with the ecology of the body. And for women, that's where we get a lot of those problems.
It's funny you should say that, because, in all the research that I had to do prior to doing this show and speaking to both, and Alicia, that she's gone, they, no one's covered that. Does that make sense? Like what you've just said, Lawrence, saying that, there's certain oils. all they're saying is things like, yes, you can have vaginal dryness. And these are symptoms that I'm sure some women will identify, which is you'll have thrush, you'll have cystitis, you'll have, pelvic pain, you'll have the odor and the smells. And then you've got the uncommon side effects, which people are saying that, not people, the medical council would say it's the decrease of the mucus in the vagina because it becomes thin, and the elasticity, as you just said, which is exactly what you were just saying. And these are the things that I picked up. So when you have that the decreasing of the the estrogen, which is there to keep that muscle all tight, they're asking you to use like certain oil supplements like sea buckthorn oil. And so that's why I'm asking, is that the sort of things that you or Lauren would tell people to use? They've also suggested using things like, I believe that coconut oil is one of the best, the greatest healer. Me personally, if you can get the best coconut oil, it's a great lubricant. But they're saying that you should take things like St. John's worts, which is supposed to be very, very good, because it not only deals with that, it deals with sciatica, it does with the muscles. So it allows you to relax, because if you've got
you wouldn't use St. John's wort for that, because
that's what I'm saying.
If you're looking to tighten, you don't want St. John's wort. St. John's wort is a nervine and a relaxant. So
that's what I mean. It's a relaxant. It's to relax.
You don't want to use that if you want to tighten the vaginal area, or tighten the womb or the bladder, any muscle that you want to tighten. You won't use St. John's wort. So John's wort,
apart from the pelvic floor muscles, what apart from the the herbs that you would be, if someone had to go to a homeopath, they're going to offer them something like, as I said, sea buckthorn oil or things like that.
That is good.
Is it really?
But it's not good for everyone. Just because we've all got vaginas, it doesn't mean that all of our vaginas are the same, and sea buckthorn oil is going to be great for all of our vaginas.
Now you answer my question. There you go. Yes.
And that's why this is why it's important to have a consultation. And when people go onto my site, sometimes they'll see how much I charge for a consultation, and they won't bother, because they go, well, I can go to my doctor and talk to my doctor for 10 minutes, and the doctor's not going to ask you much. But when you have a consultation, I've got a consultation. You fill out a form. I go very deep. I need to know your bathroom habits. I need to know what your poo looks like. I need to see your fingers. I need to see your eyes, your tongue, your teeth. I need to look at all those things, because it tells me every part of you gives me a story. Every part of you. So I'm an energetic herbal alchemist, meaning I have to find out what is the energetics of your tissues, of your body state, your constitution, so I can match you with the right herb. I don't throw out herbs. Oh, use St. John's wort for this and that. No, St. John's wort will relax your that area even more, because it's a relaxant, it's a nervine. It's there to relax you when you're agitated or when you've got anxiety.
So, but then why would they? There's women. So there's these women who are very anxious. They're uptight. They're, these are the women that have been in the same relationship with someone. They don't know how to relate to their man and say, I'm having a bad day. I'm emotional. I don't like myself anymore. I'm not feeling sex, because after going to work all day, or even if you're the one that stays at home, you've probably had 2 or 3 kids or 5 kids. You don't know, but you've got, a high flying job like yourself, Lauren, and yourself, Jack, and you come home and here you are, your partner wants to touch you and you do not want to be touched. You've got
to get into your feminine. The work area is a masculine environment. The how is going to be huge, because women are not conditioned to be in their feminine. They're conditioned to be in their masculine. And when you're at work and you're used to, if you're the boss, say, or if you're in a position of power over men, some women don't know how to trigger that off, turn it off, come home. I say to women, I'm not an expert on this, but what I would do, come home, have a bath, put on clothes is very important. Materials are very important when it comes to the feminine. You want something flowy and something nice and soft. It doesn't have to be low cut. It doesn't have to be sexy. It just has to feel good on your body and change your energy. Because women who come to me, one of my questions is, do you wear trousers all day? They find that a very strange question. Well, if you're in trousers all day and then you come home and then you're still in trousers all day, where that trousers is a masculine energy. And we all have masculine energy and we all have feminine energy, men and women. But you have to know when to trigger from one to the other, especially if you're in a relationship. You're going to have to physically learn how to become feminine, because the feminine energy is not revered. Masculine energy is revered and it's put on a pedestal, and that's the only place that certain men want women to believe. That's the only place you can get respect and power. You've got to be in your masculine, and then it ruins relationships, and it also has an impact on your body, because your body is a female, it's feminine, and we don't know how to relate to our own selves, so we're not going to be able to relate to our partners. They're following our cues. They're following our cues. If we don't know how to be, they're looking at us to learn how to treat us. We don't know how to treat ourselves. We're looking at them. Well, you should treat me better. But they don't know how, because they haven't had a demonstration of how to treat a woman in a certain way. So you're going round and round in circles.
And this is what the next point I was going to come to, because how do you have that conversation with your partner when you're married? Laura, what were you going to say?
You can't. I mean, I think that, your point well made. The fact is that we're brought up in society, like nowadays, we're brought up to, well, I was brought up during Maggie Thatcher's years, so it was all for one and one for all, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And, with that in mind, we started, in many ways, we've created a lot for ourselves. We're working longer and later into life. We're holding more senior roles. We're running our own businesses. We're doing lots of great things, but we're doing it with the backdrop of that masculine energy. When we go into an office is a square box that we go into, and we fit ourselves into it, and we dress ourselves for it, and we behave in a way that becomes socially acceptable. So we end up like this kind of rigid thing, and wonder why we get headaches and sore shoulders, and we get aches and pains, and we're out of touch, and then we can't wind down, and then as soon as the holiday's coming up, we get sick for 4 days before we go on holiday, because our body is relinquishing right? Yeah. And then by the time the 11th day of the 14 days off work, suddenly we relax and then go back to work.
Yeah.
And so this is where the body doesn't get time. It doesn't get time. And that you've got the partners. So I have to touch on that, because I'm going to show you this. Let me show you this. I'm going to show you, this is what some men think what menopause is. That this is a question that was up to some.
There's 2 different types of menopauses. All I know is that it's the change.
I think it has something to do with the hormones.
Menopause is when you're ovulating? No, that's probably not right.
I think it's when you're stop getting your period.
Menopause is when women of a certain age lose estrogen levels.
When they are no longer reproductively viable anymore. Is that a word? Or like they're out of eggs?
Did not know there's another part of menopause. Nope. Don't know what that is either.
Well, let's break down the word. What does peri? I don't know what peri means.
If you had it before like the age of 30, maybe like if you had it at 20 or 15.
Maybe you get menopause a second time? I don't know.
Early stage menopause.
Maybe they're having symptoms of menopause and they're actually not menopausal.
Oh, hot flashes happen during menopause, I thought.
A woman is on her period and she gets too exhausted.
It's like when you just get hot all of a sudden. And it's like unbearable.
Hot flash. Hot flashes.
Maybe they're moodiness.
Fluctuation of mood.
Dizziness.
Lighter periods, I want to say, or maybe less periods.
Weakness in the lower body.
Dry mouth.
Anxiety. Hunger. Decreased bone density, hair loss, lack of appetite. I just watched the documentary, so I know that.
Do you see what men say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all they know. But no one, I went online specifically and I listened. That was the only thing I could pick out of a 2-day research of trying to speak to men to ask them, what was it like living with a woman with menopause? Or do you know what menopause in a woman is? What do you look for? And men, oh my God, look at Lauren showing. And exactly. And men, it's either they don't want to accept what menopause is like the women. If men are having the problem, it's because the women aren't talking about it. And so this is what one man said. They're not telling us. We just know what we've heard women talk about.
Not true.
Well, I'm just telling you my conversations. I'm only giving you because everyone lives in different ways. Lauren, what was you going to say?
So that pile of paper, I didn't realize I was on mute. That's 150 interviews with men.
I need to see that because, and again, are they English or were they American?
A combination, and Canadian.
Okay, because in England, I don't know if it's because it's we have the big stiff upper lip in England sort of thing, and it's taboo and this is black and white. This is not a color thing. This is just what happens. Men are not. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have men reaching out to me all the time asking about menopause, asking what it is, how they can help their wives, what they need to do to fix it. I'm going, that's where you're going wrong.
Yeah.
We're not asking you to fix it. We don't want you to fix it. We want you to be there and to listen, right? This is the one time in a man's life where men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We really need you to go in your cave and do your thing while we're sorting ourselves out. When we can peel those onion layers off that we've put on ourselves, we can take off the mask, not half the mask, the whole mask. And we can tap back into ourselves and we can learn how to talk about this thing and figure out the fact that we are women. Then, I mean, it was the hardest thing for me to do. It was the biggest, hardest lesson. I've been financially independent all my adult life. I have always worked. I've always put a roof over my head. I had no concept of what this femininity thing was. I had no clue. I knew how to get dressed up. I knew how, I could do the hair and the makeup and wear the heels and do all that stuff. But that was putting another mask on. That wasn't me being me. That's taken me the last 7 years to really figure out. But
that's the thing.
Women
wear a mask. We wear this mask because we need the men to still see us as these beautiful, dressed up, no issues women. And we're not doing that. We're not sharing with them and saying, this is how do you know?
Because we don't know how to. But that's the whole point. We don't know how to speak about. We don't understand. So in every survey I've done in the last 7 years, every single survey, between 82 and 96% of women don't know what menopause is, really. And I've got no clue how it's going to impact them. 82 to 96% of women, thousands and thousands and thousands of women that have surveyed.
And so that's amazing because some women think that menopause is, it's just that, you've got to be 50. Did you not hear Amanda say, it's when you're 50, when you're old? But whereas menopause, I've got a video of a woman who was 28 years old and she was having the hot flushes and she was telling her mum she's having the hot flushes and her mum is going, no way, 28. Now, there's nothing wrong with her menstrual cycle or anything like that. But luckily she was able to mention that to her mother. But when she went to the GP, he was telling her, no, you're not in the menopause. And then as she got to 28, she got to 32. That's when they realized she's in menopause. There's another girl who had, she had to have her ovaries removed at the age of 30. So I'm bringing these things up because people who are watching this show need to understand menopause is not about getting old. Menopause is estrogen levels drop. You can have low estrogen levels because of lack of estrogen, lack of vitamin D. There's all these other things. I think I did write it down, the decrease of estrogen, why you will have, it's not an age thing. And this is what we want everyone to understand.
Yeah.
Do not sit there and think, oh, I'm 48 years old. I have not got any symptoms and I don't have any hot flushes and I don't, I'm still got a period and my tits haven't grown. Please do not be fooled by that, because when it comes, it will just come. Some people, it comes on suddenly, and there's those that doesn't come at all. There's others, and I can speak from experience speaking to a woman down the road. She lost weight through the menopause. She stressed so much about it that she went from 18 stones to 12 stones in a year.
Wow.
And I thought she was physically ill. And I stopped her and I said, what the hell? Are you not well? And she said, no, I turned 50, menopause came, and I dropped the weight. And I stressed because I couldn't understand what it was. I stopped eating a bit of cake, she said. I stopped a bit of this. She's stick thin. I'm not going to lie, I almost envied her. But you know what I mean? That's terrible of me to be like that. I was like, damn, you need to tell me the secret. And she went, I don't know. I don't know how I've been so big all my life. My children I've had are the same size. I get to 50 and I've dropped. And she said she wasn't sleeping, but, it just dropped off. And she was stressing about what the hell was going on. And the weight went. So there's two different, everyone is different. As you said, Jane, I totally agree with you. It's what I'm saying on this particular program. You need to be mindful of what's going on in your body. And that brings me back to, if we're not going to speak to, okay, I can only, again, this is me taking off my mask, because I tend to wear a mask a lot. I try not to tell a lot about myself because I'm very guarded. But for me to have this program and wear a t-shirt and say, stand in your truth, I have to be honest with myself, because, what's the point of doing this if I'm not going to? For the first time, I turned around and said to this guy that I'm seeing, I kept putting him off. And when I mean put him off, he still kept coming back. I put him off. And for the first time of any form of being together for God knows how long, I now didn't want to take my clothes off, because I've grown a muffin top and my boobies have just got a bit bigger and I can't figure it out. And I'm on this diet and it's still not working. What's going on? Because I'm not accepting.
Valerie, who are you?
I'm just giving you my side. Listen to me, right? This is what happened to me and to where I am now. So all this is now taking place. And one day the light just turned on in my head and I went, I'm going to just embrace what the hell's going on. I'm just going to embrace it. And he came round and he just looked at me and said, I can't see you. It's like you don't want to see me anymore. And I was not having the conversation with him. I was having the conversation by myself. I would then ring my friend and she kept saying, he's nice and what's going on? You've known 3-4 years and da, 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 da. And through lockdown, I'm like, right, you got to go. I want to end it. I want you to go. I'm being serious. I need you to go. I just don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And it took 8 months just recently, because now I'm like, this sweat ain't funny. I looked at 2019. I've got none of this. I've got nothing. And I'm hating it. I'm now not liking myself. I'm really hating myself. But this is a conversation I'm having with my girlfriend, not with the guy. It took me till February this year to be honest and turn around and I said, he said, I don't understand why I can't see you. And what I said to him is, do you know what? No matter how much I tell you to, excuse my French, piss off, you're still here. No matter how much I don't pick up the phone and I don't call you, I will go months and I'm not calling, weeks and I'm not calling you. What man does that, But he actually kept saying, why is it I have to keep trying to find you? Why am I chasing? Why? And so when he came and I sat down, I went to the other side of the room. And I've still made myself look nice. And he went, wow, your legs are really thick. I said, oh, that's COVID. But it wasn't. It's where but what he then said, you look so much better. You look so much shapely. He goes, oh my God. But even though he's telling me that, it wasn't good enough. And all I heard myself was, I could feel myself welling up. He's never seen me show much emotion, to be fair. And for the first time, I was able to, I took a deep breath, and I remember lying back on my sofa and I went, I've purposely been avoiding you because I don't like who I've become. And he went, what? He goes, you're sexy Valerie. And I went, no, you've been calling me that for so long. Sexy Valerie doesn't feel like sexy Valerie. And I said, I've avoided you purposely. I cannot believe I'm saying this on bloody flipping cyber world. Oh, my days. But anyway, standing in my truth, I'm going to stand in my truth. And I came clean. I said, I don't know who I am. I've got brain. All of a sudden, I am having to really put things down, which I've got photographic memory. I can remember things like that. All of a sudden, I'm like, did I? Really? I'm a bit more short. I'm curt, and he's younger than me. So to me, I'm thinking, you ain't going to understand what I'm going through. What would you know? And so I spent that night, took an hour and a bit, rather than him coming and chatting rubbish. I then just poured my heart out, and I just said, I don't feel sexy. I'm not sure what's going on. But I didn't use the word menopause. I just said, my body's changing. Everything about me is changing. And as you know, I am older than you. And really and truly. And he just said, I have a mum, you know. I was like that. He just said, I've got a mum, you know. And I said, okay. I said, it's very embarrassing for me to talk about this. And I said as much as I could say, which was, I don't feel sexual. I don't know why I don't feel sexual. It's not like me. You know, I said, I can throw this down. And I was trying to give it all the big one. And I just didn't feel like that anymore. And I'm not even at the end of the menopause. You know what I mean? I have got my, my periods, but it's one dry. It's coming to that one last bit. And I'm trying to prolong it. Right. And then I thought, I can't. I need to embrace where I am. Stop thinking I'm young and stop thinking that it's an age thing. Stop, just be myself. And when it comes to the full menopause, I am there. At one point, I had friends who thought I was bipolar because I was acting erratic. And I don't care if they watch this back, because I feel that they're out of order. They watch me go from an emotional wreck, crying. I stopped drinking 3 years ago, but I was just I was just emotional. You said boo, I cried. You said that, I cried. I cut relationships. I stopped talking to people, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Lockdown has allowed me to look at myself as a human being for the first time ever in my life, and look at the changes within myself, the things that I cannot change now, but I'm going to embrace because this is where I'm at, and I should be grateful for. I was able, as embarrassed as I was, to tell a man who was younger than me, I don't feel sexual, in knowing that he could leave me, but I didn't care if he did, because the way I see it is, damn, I'm beautiful. And so if you go, I will find someone who's going to appreciate me, because I will tell them this is where I'm at. And he stayed. He hasn't gone anywhere. So what I'm trying, but I still am suffering with that bit of lack of confidence. So I'm saying this for everybody else out there, not so much. I'm just giving you my story. Do you know what I mean? It's, as I said, it's no point me sitting here asking all these questions and acting like I don't know, when in fact I actually do. So I'm going to stand in my own truth and tell you that it's painful. And I've learned so much from you, Lauren. I've learned a copious amount from you, Jay, and from Alicia. The openness that I have allowed myself to be open, where others aren't prepared to do that. Women need to be a lot more open with yourselves, because you're only going to have anxiety. You will have a panic attack. You will have self-loathing. And if you're going to self-loathe yourself, you're going to hate other women who are younger and looking great.
Yeah.
You're going to hate other women who have lost weight or they're coping better than you. But you don't know their journey. You have no clue what they're going through. And until we start speaking, we're going to be left in this trough. And I find that the older generation before me don't speak. Majority do not speak. And Lauren, I don't know so much about the white people. Black people don't talk. They hide. They hide from relationships. They hide from the baby daddies. They hide everything. They're quick to gossip, but when it comes to the affairs of the heart, they do not talk about it because it has been a taboo subject for so long. So this is me talking from my side of the fence. And when you've now got women open enough to come to you, Jennifer, to talk about their, I've got a dry vagina. Who the hell wants to talk about they've got a dry pum-pum? Come on now. Right? Sorry to put it so harshly. Who the hell wants to do that? I wouldn't want people to know that. But unfortunately, that's what's going to happen to you in menopause. Whether you're 28, whether you're 32, whether you've had hysterectomy, whether you've had, cancer, this is what happens. So people need to understand you don't get to 40 and 50 thinking it's old. It happens at any time of an operation.
Yeah.
It could be a defect with your kidney. It could be a defect with your liver. Your estrogen levels are the things that govern your kidneys, your urine, your bladder. So this is my input after listening into you guys and my experience standing in my truth. So I'm hoping to cover so much more. I'm going to come to the end, and I just want you guys to, for the people that have been patiently, we've been here for 2 hours, would you believe? Patiently, yeah, I know, and we could go on forever. I'd still, dietary changes. You guys have got wonderful pages of herbals. There's things like dietary changes that you can imply. I've put it up on the screen. Guys, am I right? Is this something that people should now add into their diet, which is like whole high fiber foods, having avocados, which is good fat, nuts and seeds? Because in there, it says things like nuts and seeds, and there's people who's got diverticulitis. Because women that go into menopause also, and you get older, end up with which is something that I don't know if you've come across that. I have diverticulitis, and I've had it from my early 40s. Actually, I've had it from I'm 35. So it's similar to a bit like Crohn's. So nuts and seeds is something very difficult to pass within my intestines.
It depends.
Sorry, Lauren.
I was just saying, with nuts and seeds, if you've soaked them, there's certain acids in certain nuts and seeds that if you soak them overnight, you release those acids, and they're usually what causes the digestive disorder. So if you do that, and there's a phenomenal brand, I've just bought a load because I'm about to do the National 3 Peaks Challenge. I'm taking it with me.
That'd be great, yeah. That'd be good.
I'll tell you what, while you guys carry on chatting, I will go and get a pack and I'll show you. But they're great because they're flavored, and there's a really good, rich, vibrant source of nuts and seeds in there, but they've been soaked and flavored so that they're all natural. And then you don't get that digestive kickback from them as well. So, yeah, I would go and find some for you.
Yeah, if you can find that, that'd be amazing. Jennifer, as I was saying to you, there's people that they, like exercises. They're saying things like, so apart from, you've got this down to a T with all the herbalists, and I will be coming to you. So anybody that wants to find out a bit more, again, from Alicia and from yourself, you have a website, which is, Herbalist in the Hood, is to come to you, get a consultation from you, because people don't realize that you can heal yourself from the land. Yeah. It doesn't have to be pharmaceutical. Yeah. One thing I did find online, which was what someone said, boundaries. Boundless. What is that?
Nuts and seeds. I got them online.
Yeah. And nuts and seeds, are they already crushed?
They're not crushed, but they're been soaked. Sorry, go on.
No, that's just what you were saying, Lauren. They're soaked.
Yeah, they've been soaked. So they release that. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's an enzyme in the nuts that when you soak them overnight, because if you make rice and peas, that's why we soak the peas overnight, because there's an enzyme. When you look at the water, all the water's kind of fizzy looking. You throw off that water, and then we make the rice and peas with another set of water. But there's a certain enzyme in there that it needs to come up after you soaked it.
Beautiful. Another tip for anybody else out there who can't absorb nuts and things like that, but it's very good for your dietary, is someone said it was to get the coffee grinder. And you get the pumpkin seed. You can also get flaxseed powder, because that's what I got, flaxseed powder. But they said the flaxseed powder, linseed, and pumpkin seeds are one of the best phytoestrogen? You
Phytoestrogens,
correct.
Yeah, phytoestrogens.
They're the 3 best phytoestrogens that you can use.
They're not the 3 of the best. There's better ones. There's higher in density ones than those. And linseed and flaxseed is the same thing.
Right. Okay. You see, I know flaxseed. And
it's called linseed or flaxseed. It's either one, but it's the same thing. And there are herbs that are more phytoestrogenic than what you've just mentioned, than pumpkin seeds.
I want to write what you guys have, because we're coming near to the end, just to put in the room. All my foods have to be chlorophyll, kale, green, nuts. Absolutely. Anything green, kale, green, from the soil, nuts. She said, I'm addicted, and pickled onions and Alicia, you're nuts. She goes, pickled onions and exercise. But before we get to the end, I would like to put into the chat room for anybody who would like to reach out to Jennifer and to Lauren. I'm hoping I can copy this. Let me see if I can. Jennifer, can you just give me the link? Can you type it in the thingy room, in the private chat room? I'm about to put it into the messenger.
What's that, my website?
Yeah, so I've got it, but I'm going to put it in. So I've put in here, folks. I'm hoping it's... let's see if it would allow me. I've put in the chat room for anyone that wants to know more. Here we go. So Jennifer is www.herbalistinthehood. Right, I'm trying to put it in the chat room, folks. Hope you can get it. Yes, spirulina is another food that is very good to put in your diet. For anyone with, that's had weight loss, women of certain stage as well. So I'm going to chuck all of this in. Do you know what? We've had so many people. Right, okay. It's saying, right, okay. So many people have written in this. Would you believe it? It's unbelievable. Let me see if I can bring it up here at the side. Won't even let me. We've had, here we go. Hopefully I can get it in. But look, I'm going to put it at the end of here. I think I should be able to type back into the room. Hello, Miss Walters. There's a Betty Walters listening from Canada.
That's my sister.
Oh, hello, Betty.
Hey, sis. That's my sister.
So much. Guys, we are coming to the end of all of this, and we've touched, here we go, we've talked about the low estrogen, the painful sex, lack of vaginal lubrication, the hot flushes, the breast tenderness. These are the things that you really need to look out for. Trouble concentration, it can lead to depression. That is one thing. These are the dietary changes. One thing I want to mention also that I was told is quite good for the menopause is intermittent fasting. Can you guys shed just a little slight light on that? Do you agree? Because I can see Lauren shaking her head. Why? Please tell me.
There's 2 schools of thought on this. So because your estrogen receptor sites need to be filled up every kind of 4 to 6 hours to keep things in balance, then if you go for 14, 16 hours without eating, you're throwing that out of whack, plus you're putting your blood sugar out of whack as well. And that can have a knock-on effect. However, when I've done cleanses with my clients, there are some women who benefit from doing intermittent fasting, and it works for them. So this goes back to making sure that you personalize your solution, because for some women, they will absolutely thrive by having their evening meal at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock and then not having anything again until midday the next day. and they absolutely thrive on that, and it works. Like yourself, some women thrive in keto, but for many women, they need the carbohydrate in their diet because of other factors. So I kind of shake my head, because logically, based on my nutritional training, we shouldn't allow our blood sugar to dip that much. However, the practicalities are the fact that for some, and actually I didn't even, when I first started this debate, and I know you're trying to wrap up here.
No, just take your time, just go. Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I can't do intermittent fasting. Do you know what? I don't eat after 6 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm sitting here with bottles and bottles of water, right? But I don't eat after 5, 6 o'clock at night. And some days, if I'm up and training, it will be 10, 11 o'clock before I have something to eat, because that's when my body wants the food. Okay. So actually using my own body as an experimental chamber, if you like, that's just at this moment in time, that's what's working for me. It would not have worked for me while I was going through menopause. I was eating like a fiend. I mean, I was like a stone lighter than I am now, and I'm not heavy, but I was super fit and I could eat as much as I wanted to, but I was burning it off through when I'm stressed and when I'm training, I just burn it off. Yeah. But I'm content and I'm happy and I've filled out, and I'm the weight I'm meant to be right now. I'm the shape I'm meant to be. Would I choose it? Not necessarily, but I've got it, and I'm at peace with that now. It's taken time. So I think that it is just about individualizing helping women to identify, and I'm less focused on what people eat. I'm more focused on when and how people eat. Okay. How you eat is really super important, as well as what you eat.
So people need more of what they're eating and understanding the intermittent fasting. Does it work for you? Is it the right thing that works for your body? Because it's not everyone. And you need to understand if you're ecto or is it endo. Yeah, because there's different body shapes for it. So before I've already put into the chat room, Jay is www.herbalistinthehood.co.uk, and Lauren is womenofcertainstage.com. So for everyone that joined the show today, everything that we've spoken about is on these sites. Now, one question is Miss Sugar has been asking all night, and she's been quite vocal, to be fair. So do you think that not having sex brings on menopause?
No.
Can anyone shed light on that, please?
No. Listen, menopause will happen to every single female at a certain point in their life. Menopause will happen to every woman, but not every woman will have menopausal symptoms. So, and sex really hasn't got anything to really do with menopause, because even after menopause you can still have sex. But your diet is paramount to keeping the smooth muscle, the mucosal lining inside the body wet, not dry, not drying out, not your ligaments getting dry. Ligaments and your tendons and all of those, they're all related to the liver. So if you've got a weak tendons, a weak bladder, things like that, all tendons in TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine, is related to the liver. Hot flushes is the liver, the kidneys, the spleen. Those need to be sorted out. The heart gets hot, then the liver gets hot because it's congested and it's stagnant. It can't move, it can't do what it has to do. It gives off heat. Heart starts to give off heat. All of those organs that control temperature, when they're getting hot, you need the kidneys, which is water in Chinese medicine. It's related to water, to cool all of that down. But because the kidneys aren't working, the liver's blocked up and congested, all of that stuff is not working. There's no digestive fire. So all of these things come into play. That's why you need to know what your diet's like, what's going on with what you eat, what you drink. Everything has a play, because these symptoms have been there, and a lot of them have been hidden by our periods. Because when you come to this side of life, the estrogen is still there in small amounts in the adrenal glands. But because the adrenal glands, they're exhausted, aren't they? They keep constantly pumping out cortisol to deal with the stress. So there's not enough estrogen to keep us ticking over into menopause where we can have a fantastic time. So we have to do something about our adrenals. We have to take adrenal herbs, kidney herbs, liver herbs, heart herbs. And what the herbs do, they just put the body back in balance.
Yeah.
And then they're gone. The herbs don't make you their slave like some of these medicines. Herbs just want to do their job. Them and the body, they've had a relationship for eons of times. Herbs knows the body knows herbs. Once it goes in, does its job, then that's it. As long as you don't go back into the same eating of the same types of foodstuffs, because they're not food, they're foodstuffs, then you shouldn't really get a repeat of those conditions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of learning that needs to be unlearned.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of food that people need to know what foods, because I've got ladies on my cleanses and after 3 days they want to eat carbs and and it's only a short period of time that they need to cleanse.
Yeah.
And they're having a hard time doing it. So I have to be there to kind of encourage them and keep them on board. Only 7 days, because some of the times you've got to clear stuff out so the herbs can do their job.
Can I just say, because Miss Sugar keeps going on about the sex, I don't know if you lot can read that just before we go. She says, I believe not having sex tells the brain nothing is going on. Not necessarily. And she says, everyone is different, but you're right. Do your own research, Miss Sugar. Absolutely do your own.
I don't know what
research.
she means. I believe
I'm
not
saying that, that I believe not having sex tells the brain nothing is going on, and and we are done. And I'm going to do my own research. Everyone is different. So I think what I'm getting from that is that, because she's mentioned sex a few times.
Yeah.
I know she's had 5 children from what she's saying.
Yeah.
So if you're not being out, I think she's also mentioned she's not had sex for 3 years. So
Right.
I think that's something that you may need to, unless she's messing about, I think that's something that you're just going to have that conversation with your partner. And if you're not feeling like sexual, you're either not feeling your partner and you need to let him go, or there's something that you're not addressing within yourself why you're not feeling sexual.
But sex starts in the brain.
It does.
Sex
So
it's a mental thing first, because any one of us can start thinking sexual thoughts and turn ourselves on. It's all up in the head.
Yeah.
And then it comes into the body.
That's it. So hopefully you get that, Miss Sugar. I believe not having sex tells the brain that nothing is going on. Of course. It doesn't. It's you have to tell your brain. I get you. Yeah, I think there's a lot more going on there, but and I love every comment that you've made in there today, Miss Sugar. Every single one. So, and I love your participation. Ladies, can I just say it has been fruitful. Totally fruitful, and I can't put hearts up, so I'm going to throw a lot of hearts up for myself to you guys. Hearts, nerves. You're right. No, I'm just being open to all angles. You're absolutely right, and that's what we love hearing from you. Doesn't mean that what you're saying is wrong, Miss Sugar. I like what you're putting out there because it's food for thought, and I hope that we've answered, or the experts in the room has answered everything for you today. Please remember this, folks. As I said, we've already talked about this. If you don't understand, research and reach out. You've got 2 lovely ladies here. Yes, there's a copious amount of women. There's copious amount of videos on YouTube that you can listen to. Sometimes there are people might give you conflicting information. Just listen to what you feel is right. I think if you listen to 4 people and the 4 people are saying the same thing, then the 4 people are right. But if people are saying one here and the other way, then keep looking. But the main thing is be in tune with yourself.
Yeah.
Be in tune with yourself and try. I'm 52. Love the info. Thank you, Miss Sugar. And we love all the things that you're saying yourself. Herbs, plant-based, vegan-based. It doesn't have to be vegan, but it is plant-based. Estrogen, low estrogen, can start at any time. I'm going to say this over and over and over again. The next subject I will be covering on this is male menopause. So I need the men to understand that you need to understand, talk to your women. If you think that they're just throwing their toys out the window. Thanks, Tash. I've put it in there. Thank you for putting it again. Mummy T, hello, my lovely. Blessings as always, my empress. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in and anyone on the replay that listens back to this again. We hope that these ladies imparted knowledge and you'll enjoy the conversation that we had. We all stood in our truth. Everybody has talked about their own personal experience. Yes, we could sit here and talk all day long because I am a conversationalist. But the main thing is, let's do this again. Let's do the men. If you guys are up on the men, I would love to do this. Let's throw that in the mix. What day is it today? Today is the 20th of May. Let's go 3 weeks from now. Let's come back and let's do male menopause. And we'll make sure we bring a man in.
Andropause. Yeah.
Andropause.
Let's get the male men in so that women can see from the male perspective how they deal with it. Please be open. If you're single and you feel that life is going to pass you by and you can't, if you love yourself first, put all the good things in. When you do go out there and decide to date again, that man will be receptive to you. I would tell you this, he will be. And if he's not, he ain't supposed to be with you. He's not ready for you. He's not grown. He's not understand, but make him understand. If he leaves you, leave him, impart him with knowledge to take on somebody else and understand. It is our job to make sure that the women of the next generation don't falter by the sideways like some of us had. And on that note, I want to say good night to you, Lauren. I'm hoping that you're going to be through in 3 weeks' time. And good night to you, my wonderful Jay. Hope you're going to be free in 3 weeks' time. Alicia was in the room, but I know she had to jump off again. But andropause, and we're going to get a male guy in the mix.
Please.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
That's the aim. We're going to do 3 weeks from now, roughly around the 17th or the 18th of June. Be right back here to talk about male menopause. Ladies, good night. God bless you. I'm going to say good night to you, and I'm going to put you in the green room and quickly say bye to everybody, and I'll come back to you. Please don't go. Here we go. Please put some hearts up in the room for these wonderful, wonderful ladies. Any information you want to know, please drop me. Go on to standinginmytruth.co.uk, and there's a box that you can write in and say, I need more info. These ladies are well renowned in their field, and I am honored to have had them today. Good night. Good night. Good night. Whew. Do you know what? That was the longest show I've ever done. But it was worth it. I don't even know if YouTube has still even got it because it is that long. It has been, I didn't even cover half of the subjects I wanted to cover. But the main thing was menopause is at any time. You don't have to have children. Maybe you don't have children. I'm still putting up the great ladies. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I am bowing to everybody that offered opinions in the chat room. These shows cannot work without you people and your participation. The wonderful people that come on to impart their knowledge. These are women that are renowned around the, in the UK and some around the world. And they've taken their time to come for free to impart knowledge. And for me, I am grateful for that. End of the show. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here. I mean, I'm back here next week talking about autism. And the week after, I'll be talking about lupus and sickle cell. Yes, we are covering the next subject, which is lupus and sickle cell on the 3rd of June. Hopefully next week we will be doing part 2 of living with autism, where we will be having the lovely Maxine Winter, who is actually, lives with autism, and she's going to come and talk to you about living with autism. I have a 14-year-old that's going to be joining me, look at me sweating, living with autism. But the only thing I want to say to you is stand in your truth and love yourself. And don't feel suicidal. Let me wipe the sweat. I'm getting there. Can you believe it? Good night, everybody. God bless.